some sprinkles here and there that you'll find today. Going to have a mostly cloudy day expected, which is going to keep the temperatures a little bit cooler. However, it's still going to be very humid. And there also is another chance of some thunderstorms coming in this afternoon. Had some thunderstorms around the area yesterday afternoon that came around. High of only around 83 today. Again, so it'll be a little cooler, but however, the heat index will still be up there with the high humidity. And then again, that results in those chances of rain. Currently 74 degrees with a heat index of 81 degrees right now to get your Wednesday morning started. We come to you live from the Family Leisure Studios. And of course, we're family leisure. That's where family and fun come together. And right now, great deals going on at Family Leisure on patio furniture, all in-stock patio furniture up to 60% off. 4-piece deep seating set, only $9.99. Chase lounges, buy one, get one half off. Get free umbrellas with dining table purchase. Special financing is available. That's all going on right now at Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road. Coming up on today's program, plenty of stuff to get into. We've got the Grizzlies wrapped up Summer League last night in Salt Lake City. Now they will head up to Vegas, where they will compete in the big Summer League with all of the teams after there were just the 4 teams in Salt Lake City. So that will get underway on Friday. They'll make that transition from Utah up to Las Vegas. Last night they had their last game in Utah, as we expected. Most of the guys, not the G.G. Jacksons and Jalen Wells of the world, they did not play last night in that game, which was very much to be expected. But we'll go around the Summer League, some former Tigers that were in action, some other players, some notable performances from last night. We'll get into Summer League a little bit as far as that is concerned. Also, some other stuff out of the NBA. I was looking at some NBA win totals for next season that have been released by Bet Online and some other folks now that most of the free agency stuff is done, kind of doing their rankings for next year and exactly where the Grizzlies are, according to some out there in the Western Conference. Penny Hardaway made a new hire for his staff. We'll talk about that. The Tigers on tour stop last night at Brookhaven, and some interesting comments from Penny Hardaway on that. Of course, we'll talk with Parth Upadhyay coming up in our final hour today, all about Tiger basketball. Also, did some looking into the Tigers' non-conference schedule and just how many teams that they're playing are projected tournament teams, and then where right now in some of these way too early rankings, those teams are ranked by folks on that Tigers non-conference schedule. Big 12 Media Days underway yesterday. They will continue at day 2 today, but some very interesting comments from coaches, from Brett Yormark as well, that we'll get into. Also had a chance yesterday to watch a lot of the quarterback series on Netflix. Got some thoughts on that. So, and then we're going to talk rivalries today. Talked a little bit yesterday about the article. Didn't get a chance to really get into it, but from The Athletic, they ranked the top 100 rivalries in college football. They also did a list of the best names of rivalries, and the Memphis Tigers appear very highly on that one. But the top 100 list of rivalries in college football, Elijah and I have put together our list. Got 2 different lists that we'll do. Got our top 5 best rivalries, and we're going outside of college football. This is in all of sports, so it doesn't just have to be college football. But best rivalries in sports, in our opinion. And then our favorite rivalries, which could be maybe not the best, but have some special meaning to you or whatever. Whatever, your favorite rivalries that exist in the world of sports. And we'd love to hear from you on that as well on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line. You can text in at 901-360-8255, 901-360-8255. The best or your favorite rivalries in the world of sports. We will get into that coming up a little bit later on in the program. Elijah, how are you doing today, sir?
Doing pretty good, Eli. Kind of my mood kind of matches the morning. It's pretty calm, pretty light as the rain falling outside, so I'm feeling good. I'm ready to get this show on the road.
Yeah, like I said, there's some showers out there, but nothing. They're just little areas right now of just some very light showers. Well, I mentioned that Big 12 Media Days got underway yesterday. And I want to start there because some really interesting stuff. And this is going to be happening. We're going to hear a lot of this same stuff over the next 3 weeks or so as all of the different media days take place. Now, next week is SEC Media Days, which is always a massive production, and that'll be down in Atlanta at the College Football Hall of Fame. Our very own Brett Norsworthy will be down there. He'll be doing the Sports Time show Monday through Thursday from there. He'll be coming on with us daily. He'll be on throughout the day, every day, through giving us updates, what's going on, and we'll be talking to other folks from down in Atlanta as well next week. But yesterday, the Big 12 Media Days down in Frisco at the Star kicked off with Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12. And Brett Yormark doubled down, and he said, "I am doubling down on the 5+11 as the correct model for the future of the college football playoff." He also said, "I'm confident we'll get to the right place. I'm confident we'll get to 5+11." So, Yormark, and it's expected that we'll hear the same out of the ACC, continuing to stick to their guns that they believe that the 5 automatic qualifiers and 11 at-large spots is the way to go. And the funny thing is, too, now, like, there's not even the thought of talking about anything any fewer than 16 teams. Like, everything is just 16 teams. So I guess that is the assumption now. We are going to 16. 14 is not a possibility. We're taking this thing directly to 16. But he believes, and again says, "I'm confident that we will get to 5 and 11. So that's one commissioner. Again, that's a commissioner who doesn't have nearly the power of the Big Ten and the SEC. Now we know that the SEC has kind of shifted, and maybe there is the support. Maybe they will support. We'll see what Greg Sankey says next week. Be very interested. Obviously, he's going to be asked more about it. Last we heard was at the spring meetings. Now we'll get to hear him next week. And does he come out in support of the 5+11? How does he handle things as far as that is concerned? And the coaches as well, because the coaches from the SEC were the ones at those spring meetings who really came out more in support of the 5+11, whereas the administrators and ADs were more on the side of the more automatic qualifiers. The Big Ten has been very much on the side of more automatic qualifiers, more of that 4-4-2-2-1 model. Also interesting for Brett Yormark yesterday, saying that the Big 12 is the deepest football conference in America. How about that? Did you know that?
That's news to me.
It's an interesting comment to make. I understand you're the commissioner of the conference. It says no league offers the competitive balance that we do. I mean, I guess if you want to say like parity, I guess you could come up with that. I was looking at the win totals, the over-under win totals in the Big 12 this year. The top win total, according to the odds makers, is 8.5. They have 3 teams at 8.5. Arizona State, who of course was the huge surprise last year. Kansas State and Texas Tech, they have at 8.5. The lowest win total was West Virginia at 5. So if you want to talk parity, I guess you could make a case about the parity of the conference based on the odds makers. They believe there's only a 3.5 win separation between first and last. Also, weirdly, Brett Yormark making the decision that the Big 12 not doing a preseason poll because he believes it hurt Arizona State last year. I can't comprehend how it hurt Arizona State. But of course, they were picked last in that preseason poll. They end up winning the conference. But they won the conference, got into the playoff, and got a first round bye. So how exactly did that poll hurt them? What did he think they should have been a number one overall seed for the? I don't understand how that hurt them. But it's also interesting because, and again, it wouldn't matter for this year because this year we know it's the 12 team. But if Vegas is anywhere near correct, there's no way the Big 12 is getting more than one team in the playoff. And if you look at Phil Steele has, in his predictions, in his magazine, he has a three-way tie atop the Big 12. He has Baylor, Utah, and Iowa State, which is funny because I mentioned the three teams that are the highest win totals from Vegas: Arizona State, Kansas State, and Texas Tech. Phil Steele has none of those three. He has Baylor, Utah, and Iowa State, who in the Vegas win totals are the next three, all at 7.5. But if you look at those teams, for instance, if Phil Steele is correct, let's say, and those teams are at the top of the Big 12, Baylor plays Auburn. That's a home game. And at SMU the first 2 weeks of the season. So Baylor easily could be 0-2 to start the year. And that is a very realistic possibility. So if they would say they started 0-2 and then went on to win the Big 12 and they lose a couple of conference games, I mean, that's certainly possible. Utah starts the season at UCLA. They certainly could lose that one. Be Nico and company. Iowa State plays Iowa in their non-conference. Of course, that is one of those great rivalries that we talk about. And that is at Iowa State. But certainly they could very well lose to Iowa. So in a conference that has a lot of parity, where you'd expect these teams to probably lose a couple of games, at least one or two in conference play, they all got very tough non-conference games as well. So that's where you get to those win totals of 8.5 being the top one. So again, yes, there is parity in the Big 12, but I don't see it. It looks just on the surface, based on predictions and what people believe, very hard for the Big 12 to get more than one team into the playoff. But again, going forward, Brett Yormark doubles down and says, we want the 5+11. They don't want more automatic bids, which could end up. And he does admit that it may not be the best plan for the Big 12 right now, but he does believe it's the best plan for the future. So I don't know. But he calls them the deepest football conference in America. Meanwhile, the coaches speaking yesterday. And obviously, and this again, we're going to hear a lot about this over the next few weeks from all of the different conferences. But the coaches are talking and obviously asked a lot about the revenue sharing and things like that. And just the comments from various coaches is just, it's funny because as this is being implemented, people just don't know really what the heck is happening. Comments from yesterday, Kenny Dillingham. We don't know the rules. The settlement passed, but who knows what Deloitte is going to clear. Until there's clarity, you're living in limbo. And Deloitte is the clearinghouse that is dealing with all of the NIL deals, the third-party NIL deals. He also says you're seeing a lot of people lie and promise fake things. The coaches talked about that there are schools that are handing out cash from their collectives to high school players in an attempt to induce commitment, which is against the new rules. We've heard a lot about the front-loaded deals that all went through this summer before July 1st, when you had to get those deals cleared. All of these collectives, places that are still having the collectives, just paid out a ton of money in NIL deals before July 1st because you didn't have to have them cleared. So you could have promised a kid something. you get him, you pay it out, you pay all this money, and as long as you did it before July 1st, it was not subject to any sort of approval. And so a lot of schools do that. There's a lot of of course, this is the Big 12, a lot of references, veiled references to Texas Tech from the various coaches. Because Texas Tech, as we've talked about, handed out $35 million around that number in NIL stuff. They've got $55 million invested in their athletes, with the $20 million from the revenue sharing plus $35 million in NIL. And again, that was all a lot of front-loaded deals. We talked about the offensive linemen that they've just promised. They say $5 million, although, again, that's with incentives. Scott Satterfield from Cincinnati. I don't understand what rules everybody's playing by. The whole point of this was for all of us to be playing by the same rules, but we're not. We're not playing by the same rules, particularly this past spring when everybody is apparently front-loading, where others are having to now spend their revenue share cap. So again, talking about those front-loaded deals, and again, that is, I think, in a lot of ways directed towards Texas Tech. Here's another one. This is more direct at Texas Tech. I've seen these agents coming out and saying it's a guaranteed 3-year deal for a high school kid. One in our league right now, Satterfield said. How? Scott Frost. Only comment I have is about some of the offers going out to freshmen. Those people must not be planning on there being a cap because they wouldn't be able to spend all that. So it is a free-for-all right now. And I would assume we're going to hear a lot of the same type of comments from coaches that they just don't really know for sure exactly what's happening right now. Again, you had these front-loaded deals. There are schools, a lot of these coaches talked about, there are schools in these contracts who are offering guaranteed NIL money, but you don't necessarily know that NIL deal will get approved by the clearinghouse. So you can't really promise that if you don't know that it's going to be approved. The Dave Aranda, when you front load, that gives you the ability to have money in the revenue, in the rev share this year to make big time payments and close out guys. That's what I'm seeing right now. There's a fair amount in our league that did it. There are a couple of schools here today, again, referencing Texas Tech. Dillingham, most places are so win now, and most coaches aren't at a place they want to stay at. Either you're at the top and it's win now or as long as you can, or you're at a place where it's win now and then you can leave and get out. The front loading allowed coaches to win now to take another job. So there's it's a crazy world out there, as we knew it was going to be. Meanwhile, the clearinghouse itself, the workload of it trying to go through these cases, there's still a lot of legalities being determined. This is an article from Ross Dellinger. Talk about the legalities that they're dealing with of trying to figure out enforcement, punishment, things like this, while they're also trying to approve or reject these NIL deals. It's just, it's a bit of craziness. And that's to be expected. There's been 1,200 deals submitted to the clearinghouse so far. Look at this. And 1/3 have been approved. About 80 have been denied, but those can be resubmitted. You can resubmit once, and then if it's denied again, then there's an appeals process on top of that. But so if you're talking 1,200 have been submitted, 1/3 have been approved, that's 400. 80 have been denied, so we're talking 480. So you're still talking about 700 something that they haven't done anything with. And again, these are things that are being promised to kids. It's nuts. Be really interesting as we continue to go through, because that is going to be probably 70% of the conversation at the various media days is questions about revenue sharing, NIL going forward, all of those type things. But the Big 12 just happens to be the first. And again, they've got day 2 of their media days going on today down in Frisco, Texas. Penny Hardaway made an addition to his staff yesterday. Darrell Brown Jr., who is actually his godson, fantastic player, formerly who played at Germantown High School, graduated from Germantown in 2016, went to Bradley, had a great career as a player at Bradley, and then had spent the last 2 years at Bradley as the director of player development. He joins Penny's staff as the director of player development, which was a title formerly held by Andre Turner. Andre Turner was the director of player development and the director of alumni and community relations. He'll still be the director of alumni and community relations, but Brown comes in as the director of player development. So a new addition to Penny's staff. Penny yesterday at the Tigers on Tour stop at Brookhaven Pub, and we'll talk with Parth Upadhyay more about this later. Two, I guess, almost opposing comments. One quote I read was, he said, the roster is done at this point, which makes sense because a few weeks ago he said they were looking to add one more. They then added the foreign player, so that took him to 13, and that's what he had said originally. But then there was also another quote where he said, we've got to get big, so we're still looking for someone. So I don't know. I know Parth was there last night trying to get more clarity from him as to exactly which one of those is true. Is the roster done? I guess it could be done at this point, but also still looking to add somebody. I'm not exactly sure as far as that is concerned. When we come back, I want to go through the Tigers' non-conference schedule and where the teams they're playing are projected right now for this season. I'll tell you what, it is a pretty daunting non-conference schedule that they have. We'll talk about that when we come back. Sports 56 mornings just get rolling on a Wednesday morning here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Everything today is technologically based, well, except maybe you. If you're struggling with tech, no matter what kind, call Tech For You. Tech For You for TVs, home theaters, cameras, smart locks, digital storage, and more. Tech For You makes it simple and affordable. Call 697-9695. Make your home safe, comfortable, and up to date with Tech For You. Stop struggling with tech. Call 697-9695. Veteran-owned and operated Tech For You. Technology simplified.
Getting engaged is one of life's most spectacular occasions. And when you find your ring at Sissy's Log Cabin, the promise of a lifetime begins with our promise to always provide unmatched quality, superior service, and brilliant natural diamonds. Find your dream engagement ring, wedding bands, and more when you shop Sissy'sLogCabin.com or stop by any of our 7 locations. Begin the rest of your lives brilliantly, only at Sissy's Log Cabin, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
When you're hungry for good meat, trust the family that has been feeding Memphis since 1967. Charlie Hogan and the Triangle Meat Company, formerly Charlie's Meat Market. Trust Triangle Meat for fresh beef, hamburger, and roast. Trust Triangle Meat for delicious pork ribs, chops, and butts. And trust Triangle Meat for tender chicken you'll love. Feeding lots of folks, Triangle Meat Company has all the meat you need. Shop Triangle Meat Company, 8 to 5, Monday through Saturday, 4790 Summer Avenue, 901-683-1192. Fresh or frozen, big or small, trust Triangle Meat Company.
Visit Frontier Western Store today for new shirts and boots. Frontier is your top Carhartt store in the Mid-South. There's thousands of in-stock shirts and jeans. They have the classic K87 pocket tee in every color they make, including new ones just released. Available small to 4X. Want new jeans? Frontier has you covered with super tough work denim by Carhartt. And you've got to check out their selection of Ariat jeans for men, women, and children. You'll love how easy it is to find the size and style you need. Have you seen Frontier's remodeled world-famous boot showroom? It continues to expand. New styles by Ariat just arrived, plus plenty of in-stock proven classics too. Whether you need work or dress boots, trust that Frontier's the place to come. See thousands of pairs of Ariat boots and thousands more by Dan Post, Corral, Durango, Rocky, Twisted X, and others. And Frontier's pricing is lower than online and chain stores, so you know just the local shop to visit. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Locally owned and operated since 1967.
This traffic brought to you by Raleigh Tire Auto Service, your local family-owned business for over 60 years.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. They just moved this truck crash that was involved here on 40 westbound at Canada Road. Now we got some rubbernecking delays down through here on 40 West. Right when you come in from Fayette County into Shelby County, that's 40 westbound at Canada Road on this truck crash. It's getting some attention. Midtown traffic trying to pick up just a little bit more here in the last few minutes. I-40 trying to get past Chelsea. Dandelions, Crabgrass, Lawn Solutions says give them a call today. They'll make your yard look beautiful this summer. That's Lawn Solutions, 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
7:27 the time here in the Family Leisure Studios. Sports 56 mornings on this Wednesday morning. Coming up in hour number 2, Chip Williams will join us. We will not have DeMichael Cole with us today. He's going to be actually flying out to Las Vegas for Summer League, so he will not be with us today. But Chip Williams, who does a fantastic job as a breaking down draft talent and talent evaluation, we're going to have Chip on at 8:05 in place of DeMichael to talk a little bit about the Grizzlies draft picks. Of course, we've seen a little bit. We got to see Javon Small for one game. We got to see Jemai Meshack for a couple of games now. Unfortunately, no Cedric Coward, although I know Chip is very high on Cedric Coward. But we'll kind of get his thoughts on them, a little bit about the Summer League, what he has seen there. That coming up at 8:05. Partly Podjay comes your way in his normal time slot each and every Wednesday coming up at 9:25. We'll talk Tigers with Parth. And speaking of the Tigers, we talked yesterday about the addition of Baylor to the non-conference schedule for the Tigers this year, first of a 4-game series that will be played at FedEx Forum. So I went in and I found, first I went to the bracketology. I went to Joe Lunardi's way too early bracketology for next season. Obviously, take that with a grain of salt. Very hard to predict, but nonetheless, he does it. And so I was looking at the Tigers' non-conference opponents and where he has them right now. Purdue, we know, is going to be one of the best teams in America. I mean, they're loaded, absolutely loaded. Braden Smith, favorite to win Player of the Year. Trey Kaufman-Wren is like 5th on the odds for Player of the Year. I mean, it's their Fletcher Lawyer. They added the big kid from South Dakota State. They are absolutely loaded. So he's got Purdue as a number 1 seed right now. Depending on what happens with the Purdue game and the other game in the Bahamas, theoretically they could play Texas Tech. Texas Tech is on the other side of the bracket with Wake Forest. It's Memphis, Purdue, Texas Tech, Wake Forest. So there is a chance that they could match up with Texas Tech. Texas Tech, Lunardi has right now as a 6 seed in his bracketology. The teams we know they will play, Louisville, he has as a 7 seed, Mississippi State as an 8, Baylor as a 9, and Ole Miss as a 10 seed. So teams we know they will play, in the regular season. Oh, and Vanderbilt, he's got as an 8 seed as well. I skipped over Vanderbilt. So you've got Baylor as a 9, Ole Miss as a 10, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt as 8s, Louisville as a 7, Purdue as a 1, Texas Tech, which is a possibility, a 6. And then you've got the exhibition game, which we believe will be played against Arkansas, who he has as a 5 seed. Again, that's just an exhibition, but again, that'd be against a 5 seed that he has right now. But teams we know they will play in the regular season, you've got 6 current projected NCAA tournament teams. I looked at John Rothstein, and he actually, because he released yesterday he has his top 45 rankings. I'm not sure why he does 45, but he does his top 45 rankings. And his most updated version, he has Purdue as number 1. He has Texas Tech at 10, Arkansas at 11, Louisville 14, Mississippi State 33, Ole Miss 36, Baylor 45. He did not have Vanderbilt in his top 45. Unless I overlooked him. I did not see them unless I overlooked him. But so again, that non-conference slate, that, again, Texas Tech is a maybe, Arkansas is an exhibition, but you're still looking at, 5 teams there ranked in his top 45 right now. So it certainly is going to be a daunting task for Penny Hardaway and company. But again, and if you look at that bracketology, and again, certainly it's going to change a lot between now and then. When you're talking about those 9s, 10s, 8s, those are teams that are bubble teams, which, if you're the Tigers, those can be key wins if you can get them, because that means you hopefully can be seated ahead of those teams, because you don't want to fall into those 8, 9, 10 range. So if you get wins over those teams, theoretically that bumps you ahead of them. It keeps you out of that spot. Now, granted, last year they were not in those spots, and they still lost in the first round. But again, those will be quality wins and comparable wins when it comes to seeding when tournament time comes around, if the Tigers are indeed, of course, making their way into the NCAA tournament, which, again, they will be favored to win the conference without question. So they should be an NCAA tournament team. Then it comes down to seeding. And again, with not many quality wins available in conference play, well, then you got to start looking at those non-conference games, and that's their opportunity. And there will be plenty of opportunities to get quality wins. And the other thing about that is not just get quality wins, but you've got opportunities for quality road wins, which can be very big in the net. With, again, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Louisville on the road, Purdue on a neutral, which would be a massive win if they could get that one. And then you've got Vanderbilt and Baylor going to be home games on that schedule for the Tigers coming up this year. But certainly a very, very tough task as far as that's concerned. We'll talk more about that with Parth coming up later on in the program. Last night, the Grizzlies wrapped up the Salt Lake City Summer League. And it was another 1-point loss. Back-to-back 1-point losses. This one not nearly as not really the thriller or anything that the night before was. First of all, we did not have G.G. Jackson, Cam Spencer, Jalen Wells. None of those guys played, which we did not expect that any of them would play. Instead, you had a starting lineup that included Jeremy Jones and Efton Reed III and Flanders Fleming Jr. Jemai Meshack did play again, as he has made his second appearance, and only 3 fouls this time. So cut down on the fouling fouled out with 10 fouls the night before, only 3 fouls, and went 3 for 4 from three-point range. 13 points, 4 of 9 overall, 3 of 4 from three-point range, 2 for 2 at the line, 3 steals, which again, that's defensively, that's his calling card. But 3 for 4 at the three-point line, certainly a good sign for him. Again, that's going to be the whole key with Jemai Meshack. Can he become a consistent offensive player? Because again, at Tennessee, if you look at his shooting percentages, they aren't terrible. He just didn't shoot a whole lot, and it's a very inconsistent. I mean, he is limited offensively. The star of the night for the Grizzlies was Tyler Burton, who did play for the Hustle some last year. He came off the bench, went 5 of 7 from three-point range with 23 points to lead the way for the Hustle. But again, they came up short by 1 point. They had a big lead early, and then they fell behind. They rallied in the fourth, but come up a little bit short. Landers Nolly II did not play for Philadelphia. He had played the night before. He did not play last night. VJ Edgecombe sat out once again. Jedi Broom was in action, 8 points, 12 rebounds for him. 3 of 11 from the floor, 0 for 5 from three-point range. Jedi Broom, there's some people that think like that he could be a steal for Philadelphia, but he's going to have to knock down 3. He's going to have to be able to make threes at the NBA level to really have any chance to be effective. Judah Mintz, who played in the G League last year, led the way for Philadelphia with 26 points. The Grizzlies now move on to Las Vegas. First game in Las Vegas will be on Friday. That'll be against Boston. That'll be a 3 o'clock game Friday afternoon. Friday, then Saturday against Portland. Then next Tuesday against Golden State. Next Thursday against Atlanta are the games they are guaranteed in Las Vegas. Elsewhere last night in the Summer League, Dane Danger got some minutes again for Miami out in California at the California Classic in San Francisco. Danger got 9 minutes, only took 2 shots, but was 7 for 10 at the free throw line. Finished with 9 points in the game. No rebounds, nothing else. Just 9 points for him in that game last night. Also last night, David Jones, another former Tiger, another big performance. He's playing for San Antonio out at the California Classic. 25 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists for Jones. 9 of 14 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and 4 for 4 at the line. He had 25 for San Antonio. Dalton Connect, the former Tennessee Vol, of course, had 25 for the Lakers. They were the 2 leading scorers in that game. Connect was 4 of 8 from 3, 9 of 18 overall from the field in that one. The interesting story, or just kind of crazy stat that came out of the California Classic. Elijah, did you see the numbers for Kasparis Jakachonis out there?
My brother told me his stats over the 3 games that he played. They're pretty rough.
Yes. Jakachonis, who's out of Illinois, he slipped a little bit in the draft, lower than people thought. He went number 20 overall to Miami. I'm dumbfounded by this. Last night he was 0 for 5 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3, and had 8 fouls and 4 turnovers. In the 3 games out there, 1 for 15 from the field with 12 turnovers. That is, that's awful. I think that would qualify as awful. My goodness gracious. Again, Summer League you take with a grain of salt. But you would hope that the 20th pick of the draft could be a little bit better than that. Could make more than 1 shot in 3 games. But a rough go for Jakachonis out of the California Classic. We'll have to see if he's any better in Las Vegas. Man, 1 of 15 from the field and 12 turnovers. I don't know how many total fouls he had. Again, he had 8 last night alone. So I'm not sure exactly what his total foul number was for the 3 games. But that is a rough start for the product of Illinois. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about the Grizzlies and where folks have them ranked right now, including where Vegas has them ranked when you talk over-under win totals for next season. Plus a couple of other notes from the NBA from yesterday. We'll get into that when we come back. Coming up in hour number 2, we'll talk more Summer League and more draft picks with Chip Williams to kick off the hour. Then we're going to get into those rivalries. Parth Lepage joining us in our final hour today. Still plenty to get to on this Wednesday morning here from the Family Leisure Studios, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Burgess. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous?
Brett, there's some things about the Rendezvous I want to talk about. For example, we make it really easy to park. We have valet parking right at Monroe Street in our alley. We also want to make it easy for people to get to-go orders. You can now park in our alley right at our front door and put your flashers on. People also forget that we take reservations for 6 or more. And we have a wonderful party room upstairs that can accommodate people for rehearsal dinners, birthday parties, reunions, graduations. Our rooms seat between 25 and 275 people. And everything at the Rendezvous can be packed to go. Brett, we also do catering. See our menu online, and we can even deliver for groups of 15 or more. So if you have any questions, always feel free to call us at the Rendezvous because we answer our phone ourselves. You'll never hear, please listen carefully for our menu has changed. Press 1 for reservations, press 2 for hours, press 3 for catering, or if you know your party's 9-digit extension number and the first 3 letters of their mother's maiden name, dial it now. Come see us at the Rendezvous.
Since 1948, the Rendezvous.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roof Services. Do you know what Penny Hardaway and I have in common? We should both be in that building celebrating the best basketball players of all time. Of course, I'll have to buy a ticket to get in, but he should already be there. But seriously, we both surround ourselves with the best people we can find. We work hard to achieve our goals, and we are both among the best in our respective fields. At Fiveash, we can't win titles or get national awards, but what we can and do strive to do is give 100% of ourselves to give you the best product possible and one you can be proud of. So if you need a roof, siding, or gutters, give us a call at 901-367-0050, and we will do everything we can to provide you the best of everything. Fiveash Roofing. Fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
When life crashes into you, literally, NST Law doesn't just show up with a briefcase. They show up with heart. They sit with families after devastating wrecks, look them in the eye, and say, we've got you. No scripts, no legal jargon, just real people fighting for real justice. If someone turned your life upside down, NST helps you stand back up. They've been doing this for over 35 years and have won billions for their clients. NST is the way to go. Call 683-7000 or go to nstlaw.com.
If wedding bells are in your future, you need an unforgettable engagement ring from a jeweler you can trust. And that's been James Gaddis Jewelers for over 60 years. With a huge selection and the best prices, James Gaddis is a master jeweler and diamondologist. Beautiful jewelry from James Gaddis is always the right choice. Choose from rings to earrings, necklaces to bracelets, and gemstones to watches. Layaway and financing available. James Gaddis Jewelers, 4900 Poplar, online at gaddisjewelers.com and Instagram at Gaddis Jewelers. Say I do at James Gaddis Jewelers.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
7:45 the time here in the Family Leisure Studios. So the NBA win totals from Bet Online have come out for next season. And the Grizzlies, who last year their opening line was 46.5. And they end up winning 48 games, so they went over. The opening line this year for the Grizzlies, 40.5. So they have to go 500 to hit the over. That puts them, based, if you go through the other win totals in the Western Conference, you have Oklahoma City, 62.5, which that seems actually a little low. Houston, 54.5. Denver, 53.5. Minnesota, 51.5. You got Golden State and the Lakers, both 47.5. I think both of those could be a little high. The Clippers at 45.5, which that could be a little low. San Antonio, 43.5. And then the Grizzlies at 40.5. You got Dallas right behind 39.5, Sacramento 38.5. So according to those lines, that would put the Grizzlies 9th in the Western Conference. Elijah, your thought of 40.5 as a Grizzlies number?
Feels a little low, right?
Yeah. That's what I think.
I think the standing, them being 9th out of all the teams in the West, I don't think that's, an afterthought. But 40.5, that seems very low for a team that won 48 games last year and has not gotten significantly worse.
That's the thing, because and obviously when we talk about it, it always comes down to one thing, one main thing, and that is health, especially Ja Morant. They won 48 with Ja only playing 50 games. So it'd be different if Ja played 75 games last year and people are like, well, he can't stay healthy for another year or whatever. But they won 48 with him only playing 50. Listen, I mean, Desmond Bane's good. I liked Desmond Bane a lot. But I think with what they've done to replace Desmond Bane, and really, I guess Luke Kennard you would throw in there, like those are the two rotation guys that you lost. If they're not a 500 team, I would be really surprised. Like, really surprised. But to be 8 games worse than last year? Again, if Ja ends up playing 30 games, okay, all bets are off at that point. Or if somehow Jaren has a setback and his recovery from this surgery ends up costing him half the season, whatever. But if Ja and Jaren, Jaren played 74 games last year. I don't know that we could count on 74 games from Jaren, but he's been durable the last couple of years. Again, he has the injury right now. We'll see what happens. And we certainly have the question about Zach Edey. But yeah, 40.5 just seems very, very low. Zach Harper from The Athletic, he did his rankings. He does it in tiers. And in the Western Conference, he had in Tier 1, Oklahoma City and Denver. He did not have the Rockets in Tier 1. He had Denver with Oklahoma City. In Tier 2, he has the Rockets and the Wolves. Tier 3, Warriors and Clippers. I don't think the Warriors belong there. I just don't. They've done, yeah, you've got Steph Curry, an aging Steph Curry. You've got Jimmy Butler, an aging Jimmy Butler. And you got an aging Draymond Green. Kuminga's going to be gone here. They're going to trade him at some point, and we'll see what they get. I don't know. I still don't see it with the Warriors. They lost Looney, which is their big loss, but it's still a body. Like they don't have a ton of depth there. And then in Tier 4, they have the Lakers, Mavericks, Spurs, and Grizzlies. Which again, if you go to those win totals, that's kind of the company. Although, again, in the win totals, they've got the Lakers ahead of the Clippers. I would not put the Lakers ahead of the Clippers right now. I would definitely put the Clippers ahead of the Lakers. But that puts the Grizzlies in a group that is basically 7th through 10th in the West, which I think that's a fair area. As we've talked about, I think the Thunder, obviously the Thunder, we know that. They're in a different stratosphere. Nuggets with their offseason, Rockets with their offseason, Timberwolves keeping Julius Randle, keeping Naz Reid. Like those four, I feel comfortable in saying are ahead of the Grizzlies. Would you agree with that?
I would.
Is there anybody else you would say comfortably ahead of the Grizzlies in the West?
I think the Clippers. The Clippers would be.
I think you could. I certainly. Again, they like the Grizzlies' question with Ja. The Clippers have the question with Kawhi at all times. And if they do get Bradley Beal, then I think you probably could say comfortably ahead of the Grizzlies.
Other than that, though, I can't say comfortably any team.
Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, I would agree. Maybe the Clippers, but then yes, I think the Grizzlies then are in that group with Golden State, the Lakers, Dallas. You know, that Dallas number 39.5 seems low, but you don't know when Kyrie's going to be back. So they're a hard one to predict because we know Kyrie's going to miss the start of the year. How much of it does he miss? Sacramento, the kind of the bottom end of that. San Antonio, again, San Antonio is an interesting thing because it's so much young talent. When you're talking about Wembanyama, who's coming back from injury, but then you got Castle, and then you throw in Dylan Harper, and you're kind of, are they ready to really make that jump this year, or are they still maybe a year or two away from really putting it all together when you're talking about that many young guys? Speaking of the Spurs, they made a trade yesterday. They get Kelly Olynyk for Malachi Branham, Blake Wesley, and a second-round pick. So they do go get a veteran in Olynyk, a veteran big, to add to their rotation, which I like that pickup for them. I think I still think Olynyk, he's one of those guys. He's a good guy to have around. Just kind of a good, solid guy to have around. Not going to be great, but if he's getting minutes, usually going to give you some solid minutes. Did want to mention also from the Grizzlies' perspective, Drew Hill with the Daily Memphian did a great article on G.G. Jackson. Very interesting, just coincidental thing. Talking to G.G. Jackson and talking about last season in which G.G. got frustrated with his lack of playing time. And one of the guys who he said that he happened to talk to, and it was very coincidental, he just kind of ran into him. And obviously he had no idea at that point that he would end up was going to be a teammate in the near future. But it was Ty Jerome who gave G.G. Jackson advice last year on handling his situation. Because Ty Jerome is a guy who, kind of like what Gigi's going through, had to wait for his opportunity. It didn't happen right away when he got in the league. Jerome's on his fourth team right now. Came in with Phoenix, got very little opportunity, goes to Oklahoma City. Actually had a pretty good year his first year in Oklahoma City. But then the next year, his minutes were reduced as they got better players. Then they got rid of him. They traded him. Goes to Golden State. Didn't get much of an opportunity. Goes to Cleveland. Gets hurt the first year. And then this past year had the fantastic year where he becomes third and sixth man of the year voting. But a guy that had to wait. And as Gigi said, that the advice he gave him was control what you can control. And it was just funny that, here's a guy that it was like in Phoenix, coincidentally bumped into him, and they had a conversation, and Jerome gave him this advice. Gigi said it confirmed a lot of the things that Jason March, who Gigi leaned on a lot. March, who had coached him the year prior in the G League with the Hustle, last year as an assistant with the Grizzlies. Gigi had a lot of conversation with Jason March, and he kept telling him, you just got to control what you can control and let things happen. And then he bumps into Ty Jerome, who gives him that same advice. But now Ty Jerome, of course, will be his teammate with the Grizzlies. But very interesting article with just a very coincidental meeting that took place between Gigi Jackson and Ty Jerome. You can check that out with the Daily Memphian with Drew Hill. Coming up to kick off hour number 2, we'll get into the Grizzlies, their draft picks, the Summer League. Chip Williams, who does a great job of talent evaluation. We'll talk with him about what he expects and what he's seen so far in the very limited bit that we have seen a couple of the rookies. Again, we have not seen Cedric Coward at all in Summer League and don't expect to. But we'll kick off the hour with him. And then later in hour number 2, we're going to talk about rivalries in college football, the best ones, as well as rivalries outside of college football. Me and Elijah have put together our list of the best rivalries in sports and our favorite rivalries in sports. And you can chime in on that if you'd like to on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line at 360-8255. That's 360-8255. Hour number 2, Sports 56 Mornings, coming up from the Family Leisure Studios here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Newsflash, Family Leisure needs your help. Family Leisure has a warehouse full of inventory, and they need it cleaned out. Do your part to make room for new items, and you get great deals on almost everything. Listen up. All in-stock patio furniture, it's up to 80% off. You can get a 4-piece deep seating set for under $1,000. Chaise lounges. You buy one, and you're going to need another, and that other one will be one half off. All Pollywood furniture. It's now 20 to 30% off. You buy any dining table, you're going to get an umbrella absolutely free, and they're not cheap. Now, is financing available? You better believe it. Special financing is a go. To sum it all up, Family Leisure has got to clear out its warehouse inventory, which means you're going to rack up the savings. Help Family Leisure clear out the warehouse. Family Leisure, Whitten Road at I-40, where family and fun come together to clean out the warehouse.
Sunrise on Jefferson and Sunrise East on Poplar were recently voted the best breakfast restaurants in Memphis by a guy on the internet. This was a rave review. He rhapsodized about the signature square biscuits, the huge selection of delicious foods, the friendliness of the staff, and how fast and fresh his breakfast was at both Sunrise locations. It was the kind of unsolicited post that businesses love to see. Okay, it was written by me. I posted it. That doesn't make it any less true. You can't do better than Sunrise.
Gary, from the service director of Texas and Memphis. Our service department makes the name more than just a place where you get your homes and needs. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your gear and sound systems, even delivery, tire replacement, all the things you expect and knowledge. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, and you like to do in person. Please reach out to our receptionist at 271-5199.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
This traffic report brought to you by Triangle Meat Company, feeding Memphis since 1967. Open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, 4790 Summer Avenue. Trust Triangle Meat Company.
Sports 56 traffic.
Crash that happened a little bit earlier involving a couple of trucks. They're over to the far right-hand side, 40 westbound at Canada Road. It was already heavy out in this area anyway, coming in from Fayette County into Shelby County. Again, it's still a little bit slow here with some rubbernecking on 40 westbound at Canada Road. Dandelions, Crabgrass, Lawn Solutions says, hey, give them a call. They'll take care of your yard this summer. That's Lawn Solutions, 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with John Harden. Weekdays from 11 to 1.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, 801 here in the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, where family and fun come together. Check them out, 2120 Winton Road. Take advantage of great deals right now that they've got going on patio furniture, of course. Pools, spas, whatever it is. All kinds of fun stuff for around the house, indoors, outdoors, whatever it might be. Family Leisure has plenty of it to choose from, and again, great deals right now on some of that patio furniture with up to 60% off. There are still some light showers around the area right now, and we could see more coming. There is a chance for some thunderstorms this afternoon. Going to be mainly cloudy today. Might see some peeps of the sun. Humid continues. The humidity continues. We got to. That's just a part of life this time of year. Right now, we're sitting at 73 degrees with a heat index of 82 to get your day started. But again, at least no sunshine to bake you out there right now. Tonight, a thunderstorm possible. Otherwise, mostly cloudy as well tonight. And then tomorrow, a little bit more of a chance of rain tomorrow, especially early in the day. And it's supposed to be a little bit warmer again tomorrow. The temperature is supposed to go back up into the 90s tomorrow with that high humidity as well. Coming up in just a moment, we're going to talk with Chip Williams a little bit about the Grizzlies, their draft picks, summer league, and things of that nature. Coming up in hour number 3, Parthu Pajai joins us as he does each and every Wednesday, talking a little bit about the Memphis Tigers and what's going on there. Again, Penny Hardaway making a new hire to the staff yesterday. They added Baylor to the non-conference schedule this week as well. So plenty to get into with Parth coming up in our final hour. That'll come your way at about 9:30. We're going to talk a little bit about rivalries in college football and elsewhere coming up a little bit later on in this hour. But right now we are going to talk a little bit about the Grizzlies, a little bit about the young guys, the new additions to the Grizzlies. Chip Williams, who we've had on the program before, does a great job with talent evaluation and identification. You can check him out on X at Chip Williams Jr., where he's got a lot of great information up on there, and he joins us now on the program. Chip, good morning. Thanks for joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Eli. I really appreciate you having me on.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time to join us, and we'll start right away with the Grizzlies and the draft picks they made this year. Looking at your big board that you had posted on X, I know you like Cedric Coward. You had him 18th on your board, so they got him a little. They moved up to get him a little bit higher than you even had him ranked. But what about Cedric Coward do you like?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Coward he was one of the most difficult evaluations that really I've ever been a part of, just because there are so few high major data points on him playing against high-level competition. He has such a unique story, and it's well documented at this point, where it starts at D3, goes and plays a couple years of low-level D1, finally gets a shot at a big, D1 high major program, and ultimately is only able to play 6 games against mostly lower competition. But the stuff that you can see on film from him is really encouraging. I know that it's out there. The guys that are wings with a 7.2+ wingspan, the track record of that is almost a 100% hit rate. It basically guarantees you're an NBA player and gives you quite an upside as well. And then you look at like some of the shooting numbers with him, where on film, like if I was teaching a young kid to shoot the basketball, I'd say, just go watch Cedric Coward shoot 10 times and try to mimic what that guy does, because it's textbook, it's picture perfect, and all of the touch indicators are off the charts, frankly. So I get it. Every year I kind of have this tier of guys where I think, all right, the Grizzlies are a very smart drafting team, one of the better drafting teams in the NBA over the last, half decade or so. And if they like this guy, then you know what? I like this guy, because those guys get paid a lot of money to scout these guys and do a really good job. And that's ultimately where I land on Coward. I think the upside's there, and I think the fact that they traded up to go get their guy means that they're going to give him every opportunity to succeed. So it excites me. It really does. Like you mentioned, I had him 18. When I do my board, I'm more interested in the tiers, really. It's kind of a grouping of guys. So I'd have been okay with taking Coward. I had him in the same tier as a guy like Noah Singway at 9. And so going up and getting your guy at 11 makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm very interested to see what it looks like as he plays against the highest level competition he's ever been in.
Well, you talk about your tiers, and that's one of the things that interests me is that you had him in the same tier as Ace Bailey.
Yes, I did. And I think Ace is a little bit of a project, and I think we've seen both of that in the 2 Summer League games, right? Game 1, took a lot of shots, was only able to score 8 points, but then you watch him against the Grizzlies, and that shot's falling, and it's like, man, this is pretty exciting, And so I think that Ace and Coward are pretty comparable prospects in terms of the level that they could reach. There's also a floor with both of them that has to be talked about and mentioned, because you look at Ace, like you can go back and look at guys who had a low assist rate like he did and that were drafted as high as he was, and it's not a list you typically want to be a part of. So there's some stuff with Ace in terms of processing the game, understanding how to take a good shot, what is a good shot, because he's such a talented shot maker, and there's so much to work with. But yeah, I ultimately thought that those guys weren't too far apart ultimately when I was going through this class.
With Coward, you talk about and the shooting form and how it's kind of that perfect shooting form. On the defensive end, again, it's hard because you didn't get to see him against a lot of high-level competition, and it's unfortunate we're not getting to see him in Summer League either. But people have talked about the ability on the defensive end. What did you see from him on the defensive end in the limited stuff you get to see?
Yeah, when you talk about a guy with his length and his size, it automatically gives you a pretty high floor on the defensive end. And I think that's a lot of what you saw. It's still fairly raw. He's not generating a ton of steals. He's not getting into the passing lanes as much as you want. I think the on-ball stuff is pretty good. But, there's kind of a term that the draft Twitter, if you will, community talks about. It's height and length are the great margin of error separators. And when you are as long as a guy like this, you have a lot of margin for error. You can make a mistake and just be able to get back into the play because you have a 7'2" wingspan and you're also a really good mover like Coward is. So I think that technically he's got some stuff to clean up, but I'll take a bet on a guy with that, movement pattern, his ability to really shuffle his feet defensively, and then just the natural God-given length that he has.
There were a lot of people that talked about him versus Carter Bryant. You had them both in the same tier. How would you compare? Because there were some people that really wanted him to go get Carter Bryant instead.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a Carter Bryant guy. He's a unique kind of prospect where he has similar length to a Cedric Coward. But Carter Bryant was also a very difficult evaluation because he came off the bench for Arizona and played an incredibly low usage role. I mean, he essentially was just a spot-up shooter for them. But defensively, I thought Carter Bryant was, outside of Cooper Flagg and Colin Murray Boyles, maybe the best defensive prospect in this draft. I really, really liked it. But, and I remember talking last year on your program about, we were talking about the age thing, because I was a little lower on Dalton Connect than maybe the consensus was and where he was picked. And it's just simply, you go back and look at the history of the draft, and when you are drafting a younger prospect, you usually are going to have more success than if you're drafting a guy who's 22, 23, 24 years old. And so that was ultimately the separator for me with Carter Bryant, where he hasn't even turned 20 yet. Cedric Coward will be 22 by the time he plays his first game. So I thought that there was some project to both of them, specifically with Carter Bryant on the offensive end. I think he's got a long way to go. But just how similar they were in their builds, and really the defense is what separated. So I did ultimately have Carter Bryant a little bit higher, but not significantly. They're very similar prospects.
Talking with Chip Williams, talking a little bit about the draft prospect, the guys the Grizzlies drafted. You can follow him on X at Chip Williams Jr. A guy that I know you liked a lot more than really where he was drafted is this second guy that the Grizzlies selected in Javon Small out of West Virginia. I've seen a lot of people that think he could be a sleeper out of this draft. We've seen the Grizzlies have success with some of these second-round guys. We got to see him one game in the Summer League so far. We'll see hopefully we'll get to see him more in Las Vegas. But what do you like about Small?
He is a dog. I mean, I think that we love that term here in Memphis, right? And Zach Kleiman mentioned it, and I think he called Cam Spencer a grizzly bear and his end of the season press conference. And I think that's what you're getting with Javon Small. Like, West Virginia, frankly, was not a very good team this past season. And Javon Small carried them into a top 25 ranking for a good majority of the season. He is just he has no fear. He will take the big shot. He will jump in the passing lane. He will put his nose, in where guys are twice his size trying to take the ball from someone. He's a really talented shot maker. One thing I really like to look at with guys like Small is how many of their shots are coming unassisted, off the dribble? How many are self-creating? And he has a very high self-created diet in his shot diet. And that has always been a good indicator of touch and ability to create at the next level. And then you look at the passing, really creative passer, and really a guy who understands how to set up teammates in advantageous situations. So the touch indicators are great. The guy's an absolute dog. I think we got a small glimpse of it in the first Summer League game, and this is a guy that Grizzlies fans are really going to gravitate towards. His flaw is that he's 6'1", barefoot, so he's a pretty small guy. But man, I could rave about Javon Small. I would have taken him in the first round. I thought it was an absolute steal where they got him in the mid to late second.
How would you compare him to a guy who's already on the roster like Scottie Pippen Jr.?
I probably like Scottie a little bit more. Scottie's a little bit longer. I think actually those two would be an interesting backcourt pairing in the sense that Scottie, to me, is almost a little bit better off the ball. He's such a good catch-and-shoot three-point shooter and then such a tremendous defender that I think you could play Small and Scottie together and get away with it for a while. Because Scottie, we saw it last year, he's very comfortable guarding up, guarding twos, even sometimes threes with his length and just low center of gravity. I think it'd be very fun, and I think it'd be incredibly annoying to play against those two if I was an opponent. So it'd be fun.
Fun and annoying. It'd be certainly annoying to play against them. Speaking of annoying to play against, Jemai Meshack certainly would qualify as that.
That's right.
We saw him get the 10 fouls in his Summer League debut. Last night, reduced that number quite a bit. Makes 3 threes last night. Goes 3 for 4 from three-pointers. I said, I don't know that there's anybody who likes playing defense more than Jemai Meshack. Like it seems to thrive on playing defense. Certainly there are questions on the offensive end. What is your assessment of what he is or what he could be?
Yeah, it's actually funny. I put my board out, and then I saw someone tweeting about Jemai Meshack, and I quoted it. This was a few days before the draft, and said, "This is the one guy I regret not putting on my board, but I will buy a Grizzlies Jemai Meshack Summer League jersey." And they ultimately pick him in the second round. There has just not been a more Memphis Grizzly player than Jemai Meshack. This guy, he was basically a nothing offensively at Tennessee. He was just kind of a ball mover. He'd spot up and take the occasional three or slash and get to the basket finish. Just total off-ball player. Tennessee's had some really good, on-ball guys during his career. But defensively, I mean, this guy will just absolutely make your life miserable when he's guarding you. One of the highest steal rates in all of college basketball. And if you go back and look at the history of steal rate, and it's a very strong indicator of NBA success. And so seeing him hit 3 threes last night just got me thinking that if this guy is even a mid-30s three-point shooter on respectable volume, he will be on an NBA roster for a very long time because the defense is really, really special. He could be, your guard stopper that you use in situational basketball, stuff like that. And, if I was giving a comparison for like what a ceiling for him might look like, Keon Ellis, who had a breakout with the Sacramento Kings the last couple seasons, he's shot the ball very well for them, and obviously is just a menace to play against as a defender. So I think that something like that, there is a pathway to Jemai Meshack ultimately ending up on a roster and possibly cracking a rotation. But just great hands, same kind of deal as Javon Small. He'll mix it up with guys bigger than him. And yeah, I just, if he can give them anything offensively, even if it's just a spot-up shooter, I think he's going to be on a roster for a long time.
There's no doubt, like the what he does on the defensive end, just the want to is something you can't teach. Like there's just got to have that. But shooting, you can kind of teach a little bit. Wait, when you look at him and what he is offensively, could you see him developing into at least an adequate offensive player?
I think it's possible. If you go back and look at this past season at Tennessee, he was 35% from three on pretty low volume, but 72% from the foul line. Usually if you can get over 70%, that's kind of the place you need to be in order to be some level of a projectable shooter. When I watch him shoot the ball, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. He doesn't have a strange hitch or, a long release or anything. I think that it is there, and he has said that, somewhat similar to what Zach Edey, when he talked about how at Purdue he was instructed essentially not to chase blocks because they could not afford for him to get into foul trouble. I think Jemai Meshack was instructed, hey man, if you're wide open, feel free to shoot the basketball, but otherwise, we've got Dalton Connect, we've got Zakai Ziegler, we've got other guys we would much prefer to take the shot, and you're out there to play defense, so keep moving. So, I'm interested to see what that looks like. I thought last night was very encouraging, but yeah, when you watch him shoot the ball, I don't see anything wrong with it, and I think it's entirely possible that he becomes a respectable shooter in the NBA.
Yeah, they go from Dalton Connect to Chaz Lanier, so yeah, there certainly were better shot options on that team. There's no doubt about that. Speaking of shot options, Cam Spencer, I got to see him a lot last year with the hustle, and every time he played down, like the dude just can flat out shoot the basketball. Watched him score 51 in a game there. He gets the regular deal now. Obviously, the thought is, could he kind of move into that Luke Kennard role? Cam Spencer, can he be good enough on the defensive end to have him out there to take advantage of just the pure shooting ability?
I think in spots, yeah, I really do. I think that he is just such a positive shooter that it can make up for, what he lacks in terms of lateral quickness and defensive ability. And I think that Cam is a very high-level processor on the defensive end. You look at, he does generate steals, and he does get his hands into passing lanes. He just has athletic limitations that he has to overcome. And when you have a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr., he allows you to take swings on offensively slanted players like a Cam Spencer, where Jaren can just clean up so many messes on the defensive end that if Cam's out there making shots, it's worth having him out on the floor because you do have this guy who's kind of the protector of the rim and making sure that, no one's getting clean looks near the basket if their man gets beaten. So, Man, Cam is that guy is so much fun to watch. He's like, it's like the best player in a pickup game made it to the NBA or something, where there's nothing exciting about it. He's going to get to his spots. He's going to have this, pull-up jumper where his body kind of fades forward, and it barely touches the net when it goes in. I tweeted the other night that, if you're not blocking this guy's shot, he is unbothered by your contest. That shot's going in. He's special. He really is a special shooter, and rooting for that guy to play a role this season.
And the one thing too on the defensive end, like he is not afraid to like mix it up. He can get under guys' skin. Like he can be annoying. He can be that annoying pickup player type guy on that defensive end. Like I said, just there's some limitations to what he has athletically. The other guy, G.G. Jackson, we see it, like you see the glimpses and you watch these stretches of games where you're just like, this is it. Like this dude, offensively, it just pops so well. But do you believe Gigi can figure it out enough to be a part of the rotation this season?
This summer league, coming into it, I thought was fairly make or break for Gigi in terms of being a Grizzly player, where he was, year two, not completely his fault. He obviously dealt with injuries and things like that, but really struggled to get minutes this year. And when he did get minutes, it didn't look great. And so I came into the Summer League thinking, all right, I recognize that he's still the youngest player on the Summer League roster, but this is year three. I think we need to see some level of improvement to feel good about it. And it's not just the box score numbers that he's putting up. To me, what's most impressive is how G.G. Jackson is approaching this game, night in and night out, the couple games we've seen him in the Summer League. I tweeted it the other night. I feel like he has trimmed the fat from his game in terms of the over-dribbling, the settling for the 17-foot jumper, the, guy's got a hand in my face and I don't see an immediately open teammate, so I'm just going to throw it at the rim and hope it goes in. He is, when he's open for three, he's taking the spot-up jumper. When a guy closes out hard, he's one or two dribbles hard to the basket, and he is dunking everything. It is like someone told him, hey, Gigi, you're more athletic than 90% of the guys out there on the floor. You should just go try to dunk every ball, and he heeded that advice. It's been really fun to watch. It's this role of more of a play finisher instead of a shot creator. And if he ultimately becomes a play finisher, think about guys like we just saw in the NBA Finals, Obi Toppin. He very similar to Gigi in that at Dayton, he's this high usage guy, taking guys off the dribble. In the NBA, I think it hurt him a little bit with the Knicks. Ultimately lands in a great situation in Indy. He's now finishing dunks. He's spotting up for threes. He's doing all the play finisher type stuff. And one more example is Aaron Gordon in Denver. I recognize he plays with, the best basketball player in the world, and that makes life a little easier. But he was a guy, very high draft pick, came out of Arizona. Again, guy could take people off the dribble, but ultimately he decided, I'm going to be a play finisher and a rebounder and a defender. And these guys are going to make a ton of money in the NBA. So if Gigi embraces that role with the physical talents that he has, there's absolutely a role for him with the Grizzlies, and he is going to make a lot of money playing basketball in his career.
It's funny because he's one of those guys, like, you watch it, he's going to, it should work because there's too much just raw ability. But it's like, when does it happen? And it seems like he's one of those guys that it probably happens on his like second or third team. Like he finally gets in that right situation and it all kind of clicks for him.
That's a great point. And that's why I think it's so encouraging to see what he's doing right now in the Summer League. And, it's 2 games. We have a much larger sample size of Gigi, taking guys off the dribble and settling for these rough shots. But the fact that he, Drew Hill wrote a great piece in the Daily Memphian about it that I thought was fantastic, and a very self-aware reflection from Gigi to understand that, I was frustrated last season, but ultimately, randomly ran into Ty Jerome. I don't want to spoil the story, but got some great advice from Ty Jerome and has kind of changed his mindset, and I think you see that now in the Summer League.
All right, final thing for you. From this draft class, other than the Cooper Flags and the Dylan Harpers or whatever, who's a guy that you love out of this draft class?
of course, Cooper and Dillon, like you mentioned. I'll give you one that, I actually like what this team has done quite a bit. I'll go his Duke teammate, Con Knippel. Really like Con, and I actually really like the draft and the moves that Charlotte has been making this offseason. I thought I was going to end up being the highest on Con of anyone. I had him 4. I had him as a second-tier player, so I'm happy to take him anywhere 2, 3, 4. And ultimately Charlotte gets him. I just think that there is what's called a false ceiling with a guy like Con. You watch him play at Duke, and you think, all right, this is a guy that we're going to put on the wing. He's going to shoot spot-up threes, maybe occasionally take one dribble, hit a pull-up jumper. But you go back and watch him, the games that Cooper Flagg turned his ankle and wasn't able to play, he's got real on-ball juice and just one of the smartest offensive basketball players I've seen, especially out of a freshman in a very long time. So really, really believe in Con. It would not surprise me if he is, a borderline all-star during his career and just, one of the best shot makers I've evaluated in a long time.
He is Chip Williams. Follow him on Twitter or X at Chip Williams Jr., Chip Williams Jr., and again, does great work in talent identification and evaluation when it comes to the NBA draft. And again, you can get all that great stuff there on X. Chip, as always, man, thank you so much. Really appreciate the insight.
Hey, anytime, Eli. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. Chip Williams joining us here on the program. So good stuff there from him, and again, he does great work in breaking these guys down, and a lot more information than I could ever possibly come up with. Check him out at Chip Williams Jr. on X. When we come back, The Athletic has ranked the top 100 rivalries in college football. We're going to take a look at that list, and we've also got our list of the best rivalries, not just college football though, but the best rivalries in sports, and our favorite rivalries as well. And you can chime in with yours on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line at 360-8255, 360-8255. What do you think is the best rivalry? What's your favorite rivalry? Maybe it has a personal connection to you, like many of my favorites do for me. We'll do that when we come back. Sports 56, 98.5 FM.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
NST's been taking down insurance giants for over 35 years. Big firm power with hometown heart? Yeah, they don't play. It's that combination that has helped them win billions for their clients. NST is the way to go. Call 683-7000.
Ribs.
Toes. Well, what are we playing?
I want to do a Central Barbecue spot about their fantastic ribs.
Should be easy enough. Central Barbecue has got amazing ribs.
I know that. You know that. The people probably know that. But I want to do them justice.
Well, they're slow smoked for 24 hours over hickory and pecan to give them amazing flavor.
And Central Barbecue never has sauce in the pit.
Now, I don't know what that means, but it seems impressive.
It is. I just want to make them sound perfect.
We mentioned that they're slow smoked, delicious, and we've said Central Barbecue at least 3 times. I say we call it a solid 30 seconds.
Job well done. Central Barbecue. Ribs.
Not toes.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roof Services. I wanted to take a minute and discuss advertising with you. There are so many websites that list the best service provider in your area. Even the BBB has an accredited list. You know the one thing they all have in common? A company like mine has to pay to get on that list. So that begs the question, can those lists be trusted? You know what can be trusted? History. We've been around for almost 30 years providing customers with the best service and the best products that we possibly can. So if you need a roof, siding, or gutters, give us a call. We'll come talk to you and let you decide for yourself whether or not we know what we're talking about. Fiveash Roof Services. Best products, best warranties, and in many cases, the best price. We're fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Spring is in the air, and it's the perfect time to grill, chill, and save with Totes. Install a new generator, tankless water heater, or Carrier HVAC system, and you'll get your choice of a free Green Egg Grill or 36 months no-interest financing. Stay powered during storms. Enjoy endless hot water and slash your cooling costs this summer with a high-efficiency Carrier system and grill some slow smoke barbecue on us. But hurry, this special ends soon. And if you're dealing with plumbing or electrical problems, Choates is here for you too. Give us a try and take $60 off your repair. Leaky faucet, clogged drain, broken outlet, lights flickering? Call Choates and save $60 on your plumbing or electrical repair service. Call 347-8086 or visit ChoatesHVAC.com today. And remember, Choates, let our family serve your family.
This traffic brought to you by Raleigh Tire Auto Service, your local family-owned business for over 60 years.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. A little bit heavier than it was 15, 20 minutes ago. Southbound Austin P getting up on that ramp to I-40. It looks good around the 101 connector right now on I-40 over here at Watkins. It's trying to build certain sections of 385 Billmores Parkway coming inbound, especially as you get up on that ramp there to 240. Weimer's Jewelry serving Memphis now for over 40 years. Go by and see them today and shop local. You'll save a lot of money at Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
8:31 the time in the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, where family and fun come together. And this hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. So at the Athletic, in the preparation for college football season, they have done a ranking of the top 100 rivalries in college football. Again, I couldn't name 100 rivalries in college football. I mean, that's a lot. We're getting deep into what we're terming a rivalry here, but they did the top 100, and they explained there's a lot of different things that they looked at, from prominence of the teams, obviously, the data of how many times they've met as ranked opponents, frequency, proximity, competitiveness, moments, those types of things. A lot of different things that they looked at in determining this list of the top 100 rivalries in college football. The top three, I don't think is any real surprise. I would think a lot of people would have these as their top three. Maybe some folks would change the order, and it might be depending on what part of the country you're from or live in or who you're a fan of. But number one, they've got Michigan, Ohio State. Number two, Auburn, Alabama, the Iron Bowl, obviously. And number three, the Red River rivalry, Oklahoma, Texas. Any problems with any one of those three? Like that's a pretty common top three, right?
I have no problems with that.
I mean, that makes sense. Because, again, you look at the different things that you talk about, which really do make great rivalries. Proximity, they're all very close to each other. One is the same state, the others are neighboring states and things. They're competitive. It's not a completely one-sided affair. And the other thing to me is the game generally matters. Like, it's pretty much all three of those year in, year out are going to matter, at least for one of the teams. Oftentimes it's going to matter for both, but generally one of those teams is going to have a lot on the line when they play. So, again, I think those very much make sense. Number 4 on their list is Army-Navy. And again, what I think Army-Navy lacks to those other threes is how much it matters in the grand scheme of college football. You're not talking about games that are going to be deciding berths in the college football playoffs, things like that. I mean, Army-Navy, obviously, the tradition, everything else, it's an amazing rivalry, and it's a very competitive rivalry, all of those things. But it just doesn't have the meaning generally on a year in and year out basis that those other three are going to have. Number 5 is USC Notre Dame, a rivalry that's going away, or at least they're not going to be playing here. It was a thing that was every single year. And again, two teams with unbelievable traditions, a rivalry that many, many years, most years, was going to have meaning as far as college football is concerned. So that makes sense. Number 6 is Nebraska, Oklahoma. Now we're talking about out of conference. They separated when it was the same conference, certainly huge, no longer the case. They're not playing nearly as much. When is the last time Nebraska, Oklahoma played?
In my time watching sports, which is about 15 years, I can't remember a time they ever have.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that. So that's the thing. It's like, how long can a rivalry withstand not playing before you start going, okay, that, like, we've got to drop that on the list. Like, again, having it at number 6 is pretty high for a rivalry that just isn't being played. I'd have to look that up. But so that's a little surprising to me that they put that at number 6. Miami and Florida State at number 7. Number 8, this one also surprises me a little bit. Ohio State, Penn State. Like, again, it's obviously been, in recent years, a huge game in the Big Ten because both have been really good. They've only played 30 or 40 times ever. Like, I guess maybe it's just because I think so much of Ohio State, Michigan. Like, I don't think Ohio State, Penn State as a top 10 rivalry in college football.
I think a lot of that is probably due to both of the teams consistently being top 10 teams. I think that's got to play into it a little bit because the matchups are constantly, like you said, they have so much meaning. So maybe that plays into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, and again, when it's in this case, would be a secondary rival to Ohio State. Like, can one team have 2 top 10 rivalries in the country? And I'll get to one that they do have, another one that has 2 here. Because the next one on their list is Florida, Florida State. I mentioned they already had Florida State, Miami at number 7. They've got Florida State, Florida at number 9. Again, I think those Florida schools, certainly the 3 of them, those rivalries amongst them, very good stuff. I would think, to me in my head, I think Florida, Florida State before I would think of Ohio State, Penn State. Like, I would place that higher. Number 10 on their list. And again, I know they've played a million times. It goes back forever. And in these Big Ten rivalries, they have these crazy trophies on the line. This is Minnesota, Wisconsin, which is Paul Bunyan's Axe, I believe, that they play for. Again, unbelievable. It goes back to 1890. They've met 134 times, so it's hard to argue that. And it's actually dead even. Each team has 63 wins, and they have 8 ties. So, like, you can't ask for much more competitiveness. In recent years, obviously, Minnesota hasn't been really a factor at all, other than maybe here or there. Wisconsin certainly has had some really good years. But Minnesota, Wisconsin, top 10? Can we call that top 10?
Maybe because we're not in that part of the country, maybe it's a bigger deal there, but I can't go.
That's the thing. Like, I get it. A lot of it determines on what part of the country. Because right behind Minnesota, Wisconsin, they have Alabama, Tennessee. I would guess that most people in this part of the country would absolutely say Alabama, Tennessee is a better rivalry than Minnesota, Wisconsin. Because although Alabama has generally dominated that. I mean, they're 60, 39, and 8. So they have. It's a fairly one-sided rivalry when you're talking about rivalries. They beat the next one at number 12. They have Georgia, Florida. Again, I think everybody in this part of the world, if you ask them what's a better rivalry, Georgia, Florida, or Minnesota, Wisconsin, 100% of the people down here would tell you that Georgia, Florida is a way better rivalry because, again, it means more generally on a yearly basis, especially right now, Georgia every single year being competitive at the top of college football. They've got Alabama, LSU at 13. So they have Alabama with 3 of the top 13 rivalries in college football. At what point again when it's your third rivalry, how important can it be or how big can it be in the overall scheme of things? USC, UCLA, Texas A&M is all the way down at 15. Obviously, now they're getting to play again. They went for a long time there without playing. But they've had 119 meetings dating back to 1894. You've got Michigan, Michigan State, Auburn, Georgia, Michigan, Notre Dame, Kansas, Missouri. At number 19, Harvard, Yale, a top 20 rivalry in college football. The Egg Bowl, for you Ole Miss and Mississippi State fans, they put at number 23. Right behind Iowa, Wisconsin, ahead of Clemson, South Carolina. So you got a couple of in-state rivalries. Then they've got Bedlam, Oklahoma State. So they got the series of in-state rivalries here with Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Clemson, South Carolina, then Oklahoma State in a row at 23, 24, and 25. Utah, BYU, the Holy War, at number 28 on their list. Iowa State, which I mentioned earlier, at 32. Tennessee, Florida at 36. Texas, Arkansas, 38. LSU and Ole Miss is at 43. Right behind Virginia, North Carolina. Again, that doesn't even register really that much. LSU, Arkansas is at 48 on their list. Alabama, Georgia is number 50. Is Alabama, Georgia a rivalry? Or is it just two good teams here recently that have played?
That's how I would categorize it.
If every two teams that play each other is a rivalry, Alabama and Georgia have both been really good. So they've played some really important games in recent years. But heck, before that, they didn't even hardly play that much because, they used to play back in the day, but they went for a long time. When you had the divisions, Alabama and Georgia weren't going to play that often. I just don't, I don't think of Alabama, Georgia as a rivalry. Tennessee, Georgia, which is at 53, yeah. Because when they were at the division, they were in the same division. You knew they were going to play every single year. And a lot of times that was going to be competing for the championship of the Eastern Division. So that made a little bit more sense to call that one a rivalry. Going down here as far as, they've got Alabama, Clemson at 55. What? Again, they played for a few years of the college football playoff. They've only met 19 times ever. It goes back to 1900. So in 125 years, they've played 19 games. That's not Kansas State is behind that. Now that's a rivalry. Makes sense. LSU, Florida, number 64. That's, again, when they had the divisions, that was a crossover game every single year. They've met 71 times, and it's dead even. 34, 34, and 3. I would consider LSU and Florida a rivalry. LSU, Texas A&M, I don't think of that as a rivalry. Tennessee, Kentucky is number 75. Again, this goes back to how much of a rivalry can it be when one team dominates it mightily. Tennessee is 85, 26, and 9 all time against Kentucky, going back to 1893. Tennessee Vanderbilt is at number 80. Again, Tennessee completely dominates that rivalry. 81, 32, and 5. So it's a ton of meetings, goes back a long time. But do you believe, Elijah, in a rivalry there has to be parity? Like it has to be somewhat even, or where if one team completely dominates it, that takes the rivalry out of it?
Yeah, there's a quote from Joel Embiid talking about the 76ers and Celtics rivalry, which a lot of people call a rivalry. He said, it's not a rivalry. They beat us every time. So I think if one team is winning every single time, I wouldn't consider it a rivalry, even though, you may have proximity and you may have bad blood. I feel like parity has to be involved for there to be like a real back and forth.
Georgia, South Carolina would qualify. They've got Georgia, South Carolina at 85. Again, I don't really think of that as a rivalry, that big of a deal. But Georgia's 55, 19, and 2 against South Carolina. You get down towards the bottom of this, you got like Williams versus Amherst, Mount Union versus UW Whitewater, Richmond and William and Mary. Arkansas, Missouri is at number 98. And LSU, Mississippi State rounds out their top 100 at number 100. Again, LSU dominates that one as well. Middle Tennessee and Western Kentucky makes the list at number 99. The Memphis Tigers did not make the list at all. However, they did make another list that they did, and we'll get to that. It's about rivalries. We'll tell you where they came in on that list when we come back here in our final segment of hour number 2. Then we'll get into our list of the best and our favorite rivalries as well. You can chime in on the Sissy's Log Cabin list line, 360-8255, 360-8255. What are the best college football rivalries? What are the best rivalries in sports? And what are your favorite rivalries? We'll tell you where the Tigers come in on a different list of rivalries when we come back. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Listen to Sports 56 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also watch us daily with live video of all of our shows on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors at 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake. Also stores in Cleveland, Mississippi and Little Rock. They specialize in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds. Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-913-7883 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Gary, from the service director, I'd like to say like this. Our service department makes the name more than just a place where you get your oil change. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your gear and sound systems, even color, tire replacement, all the things you expect from a luxury. Please check out our website at gamesdeadly.com. Check out our specials, hours of operation,
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
It's time for SEC Media Days. Join Brent Wordsworthy as he broadcasts live from the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, Monday through Thursday, previewing the upcoming SEC football season and bringing you interviews with players, coaches, and SEC leaders. Tune in to Sports Time with Stats and Brian Dacus from 3 to 6, and also hear from Stats throughout the day for SEC Media Days coverage. Brought to you by Landers Ford in Collierville, Ronnie Grazzani's, All-Star Chevrolet, Sissy's Log Cabin, and Jimmy McElroy and Associates.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, 8:51 here. Eli and Elijah with you. So I forgot, Oklahoma and Nebraska did play a little two-game series, 21 and 22. Before that, it went back to when they were in the Big 12 in 2010. They met in the Big 12 championship game. That had been the last meeting. But they did play back-to-back years in 21-22. They did a home-and-home for those 2 years. But still, you're talking about, again, at some point, that rivalry, if you're not playing it anymore, kind of loses that luster for sure. They also, at The Athletic, along with this list, they did the list of the best names of rivalries. Number one on that list was Brawl of the Wild between Montana and Montana State. Number two is Bedlam, Oklahoma State. Number three on that list, the Battle for the Bones between UAB and Memphis. So the Battle for the Bones, they rank as the third best name of a rivalry. The Holy War, number 4, Iron Bowl, 5, World's Largest Outdoor Cocktail Party, 6, although you're not, they can't call it, they don't like to call it that anymore. I had no idea that this was a name of the Kansas State-Iowa State game. And it's not an official name, but they call it Farmageddon, which is absolutely fantastic. Love that name. That should be higher on the list than number 8, quite frankly. The Egg Bowl they put at number 12. The 100 Miles of Hate between Middle Tennessee and Western Kentucky, which we said was made the top 100, also makes the top names list. Alabama, Tennessee, third Saturday in October, number 21 on that list as well. But again, the Tigers and BYU, the Battle for the Bones, they rank as the third best name of a rivalry in college football. Couple of texts here. Texter says the Bits of Broken Chair rivalry is better than Minnesota-Wisconsin, which I believe that's Minnesota-Nebraska, which I had no idea. I looked that up. I was like, what is the Bits of Broken Chair? And I looked, and it's Minnesota-Nebraska. I've never heard that, I don't think. Maybe I have it. I don't remember it. But that's also a great name, the Bits of Broken Chair rivalry. But part of it is just the fact that Minnesota is so, for the most part, not relevant. I don't even think of their rivalries. I wouldn't know how to compare Minnesota-Nebraska to Minnesota-Wisconsin. But Minnesota-Nebraska, how long does that date? At least Minnesota-Wisconsin goes back forever, and they've met a million times. How many times have Minnesota-Nebraska even met? Raider Corey says, I think the list is confusing rivalry with recent dominance or success. The top 3 was spot on. When I think of rivalries, I think historically, geographically, and consistency. If Navy and Army were really good perpetually, they would be ranked number 1, or at least very least number 3. Personal favorite rivalries of mine are Raiders versus Broncos, Cowboys versus Niners, and Lakers versus Celtics. Again, and part of this too, again, they're ranking the top 100. By my definition of what a rivalry is, I don't know. I don't think there's 100 rivalries, certainly 100 good rivalries in college football. Somebody says the Battle of the Ravine with Henderson State and I always forget how to pronounce it. Is it? How's the Ouchita, the school in Arkansas?
Wachita?
I can't remember. It's a weird pronunciation. I always forget it. But it says the football fields are right across the street from each other. They walk to road games. Wow. How about that? Be interesting if they were both playing home games at the same time. And again, if you want to go, like there's like they do include some of the small school things. If you want to go into small schools and things like that, then yes, you could see where you could get to 100 possibly. But again, I mean, they've got like 6 different Alabama games on here. That's not rivalries. Some of those are just games. That's just what they are. Wachita, that's how it's pronounced. I knew it was something not the way it looked, and I couldn't remember how to say it. So Henderson State, Wachita Baptist, the Battle of the Ravine. So I guess there must be a ravine between those two, between those football fields or between the two schools. Never heard of that one, but again, there would be a good reason for that. So when we come back to kick off hour number 2, we will do, Elijah and I, our 5 best rivalries in sports. And again, this is not just college football. 5 best rivalries in sports, and then a separate list, and there could be crossover here, our 5 favorite rivalries in sports. And if you want to do yours, you want to send in 1 or 2 of your favorite rivalries, feel free to do so. 360-8255, 360-8255. No surprise that Raider Corey on his list would have had Raiders versus Broncos as one of his favorite rivalries. Had Cowboys versus Niners. I don't even have Cowboys versus Niners on my list of favorite rivalries. We'll continue this conversation when we come back. Hour number 3 coming up. Sports 56 mornings here from the Family Leisure Studios on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Marshall Steakhouse is a feast for the eyes as well as the body. Enjoy all American USDA prime steaks, aged 30 days or more, and other delicious meats inside. Marshall Steakhouse in Holly Springs, named the #1 steakhouse in Mississippi by the Food Network, and named in the top 2 most legendary steakhouses in the South by Southern Living Magazine. Make reservations today and get free bread pudding by calling 662-252-2424 or online at marshallsteakhouse.com. Marshall Steakhouse in Holly Springs, a Southern treat.
Hi, I'm Chandler Martin, linebacker from the University of Memphis Football. Southern Security, your home team credit union, voted best credit union in the Mid-South 6 consecutive years. Southern Security offers the latest in technology with our personal teller machines. Our PTMs allow you to speak in real time with a Southern Security team member through 2-way live video. The experience and service you trust and know, delivered at your convenience. To locate a PTM near you, visit us online at southernsecurity.org or call 901-452-7900. Southern Security is a proud supporter of University of Memphis Athletics, federally insured by the NCUA.
Progressive's teen driver discount could lower the cost of insurance for your teenager and save you some money. And then you can still spend money on them. Because just when you think you have a grasp on spending, new sneakers. And then it's money for a school field trip. And of course, spending money. Oh yeah, and a new phone to replace the one they dropped in the toilet. Oh, don't remind me. So just get Progressive's teen driver discount. And then you can continue to spend money on them endlessly. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discount not available in all states and subject to terms and conditions.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about everything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys, beyond the bottle, Tito's has gained a reputation for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits around the world to serve its community and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's and learn more at Tito'sVodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Please help the children with back-to-school supplies. 1 out of 4 families can't afford to buy back-to-school supplies for their children to go back to school. Teachers have to pay out of pocket for needed materials for their classrooms. So please help the children by dropping off essential school supplies for the school year. You can drop them off at First Metropolitan Financial Services, 6295 Summer Avenue or 7239 Winchester. Help children by helping stuff the bus.
This traffic report brought to you by Triangle Meat Company, feeding Memphis since 1967. Open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, 4790 Summer Avenue. Trust Triangle Meat Company.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Finishing up a couple of wrecks we had out here a little bit earlier. Midtown traffic trying to pick up a little bit more in the last few minutes on 240 up by Norris as traffic on the increase now down I-40 over here at Germantown Parkway, especially westbound. You got all that traffic coming in from Fayette County into Shelby County right now in pretty good shape so far down through there on 40 westbound all the way down to Sycamore View Road. Weimer's Jewelry is your diamond engagement ring headquarters this bridal season. Stop by and see them today and shop local at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Memphis's original sports station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. Here once again are Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
It is hour number 3 on this Wednesday morning from the Family Leisure Studios. Hope your morning is off to a good start. Welcome back in. Eli and Elijah here on Sports 56 Mornings. This hour is brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. Currently sitting at 74 degrees with a heat index of 84 degrees, and the showers that were in the area earlier looks like have moved out of the area. There is a chance for some more rain later today. Always that chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon with the humidity that is out there, but mostly cloudy skies today, keeping the temperatures a little bit down with a high around 83 or 84 degrees. Tonight, thunderstorms are possible as well. And then there's a chance for some rain into tomorrow morning. And it's going to be hotter again tomorrow. Looks like the temperatures, high temperatures should get back up into the 90s tomorrow. We've been talking about rivalries with the Athletics ranking of the top 100 rivalries in college football. Sean texts in on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line at 360-8255. Says Memphis Ole Miss is a better rivalry than many of those listed in their top 100. So Elijah, you are a Memphis alum. Should Memphis Ole Miss or maybe Memphis Tennessee, I don't know, should Memphis anybody be listed in that top 100?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no strictly because I don't think it's reciprocated. The feeling of the rivalry is not reciprocated from both ends, at least in my timeline. I know Memphis, Tennessee back in the day used to be a bigger one, and it's actually, I'll go ahead and spoil, one of my favorite rivalries, just because amongst my friends it was like the major talking point. Half of my friends were Memphis fans, the other half were Tennessee fans. So we constantly bickered back and forth about, who was better and, if they were to hypothetically play every year, how the games would go. But I think that because these teams play kind of sparingly, it's not an every year thing. And usually, the Ole Misses and Memphis or Ole Misses and Tennessees get the upper hand. And they wouldn't consider it a rivalry. I don't think it should be a top 100. That's just my opinion, though.
It's certainly, yeah, and the point you made there, it goes back to the whole thing. It's actually like, does it have to be competitive? Obviously, we know that Memphis has only beaten Tennessee once. So that is the furthest thing from competitive. Now, Ole Miss here in recent years, that became much more competitive, and Memphis got some wins against them, although Ole Miss still overwhelmingly has the advantage in that one. And then the other point you made there, that's about does it reciprocate? Like, if only one side of it really thinks of it as a rivalry, can it really be a rivalry? Like, if the other side doesn't really care that much, can you really call something like that a rivalry? But that is an interesting point. But I think because, like, especially with Memphis and Ole Miss, it's so close that there is a rivalry aspect to it when you're talking anything that's that close to each other. I mean, it just sets up well for a rivalry. But all right, so you mentioned that. Let's start with our 5 best rivalries. And again, we're going outside of college football. You can include college football. It could be all 5 could be college football. But your 5 best rivalries in sports.
So starting at number 5, I have the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. The history there goes back over 100 years. The teams have been some of the best teams in the MLB, and still to this day, that is still the premier rivalry, most people would say, in the MLB. So my number 4, I went with the Iron Bowl. I went with Alabama and Auburn, especially being here in the South. It is the premier rivalry, and you think about the moments, just even in the past 15 years with the kick 6 and a few years ago with the 4th and 31 play. It's just a rivalry that consistently delivers great games and great moments. Number 3, I decided to go with the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers. It, maybe has dwindled down as time has gone on, but the history is there. Both of the 2 best teams in the NBA, and it's just a classic. It's a classic rivalry. At my number 2, I went with Michigan and Ohio State. I remember a conversation that was had on this show back in, I think it was December or January. It might have been right after Ohio State won the national championship. I remember you guys said, does it still, does the season not feel as good to Ohio State because they lost to Michigan? Would they rather have beaten Michigan and lost the national championship? Which is a crazy conversation in theory, but I'm sure some Ohio State fans may think that way, which has to make it one of the premier rivalries in all of sports. And at number 1, I have North Carolina versus Duke, the college basketball rivalry. It's just delivers time and time again 2 of the most blue blood programs throughout the history of college basketball. Think of all the great players that have come through there. Guys constantly go back to see that game be played every single season. So that's my number 1. That's my list.
Very interesting because our lists are very similar. Like I didn't think they would be as similar as they are, but college sets up for rivalries, so it just makes sense that in your college football, your college basketball in the Duke Carolina, obviously they play in football, but the basketball side of things is where the real rivalry is. That sets up. That's where rivalries are born. It's all made for rivalries, all that stuff. So it makes sense that it would be heavy on college. But we actually have 4 of the 5 the same, which I did not think would be the case. I, at number 5, have Yankees Red Sox. It's from a professional sports landscape, I think that is the number 1 rivalry. I mean, you go back to the Babe Ruth, you go back to the comeback from 3-0 down. There's just so many different things between those 2 and the hatred amongst those everything else. Yankees Red Sox, even not being from that part of the country or whatever, and I know some people get tired of, in other parts of the country, of constantly seeing Yankees Red Sox and all that stuff, but it is just, to me, I believe it is the best pro sports rivalry there is. Number 4, I have the Iron Bowl. Again, so many moments, so many different things, the hatred, all of that stuff is just absolutely amazing. Number 3, I have Oklahoma, Texas. I think the Red River rivalry, I think it's absolutely fantastic. The fact that it's played at the neutral site every year with the way they have the crowd set up 50-50, everything about it, the pomp and circumstance. I think Oklahoma, Texas is absolutely outstanding. I put Duke and North Carolina at number 2. It doesn't get any better than that. College basketball for sure. If you talk about basketball rivalries, there is, to me, a massive gap between Duke, North Carolina, and anything else you could even come up with. And if we were doing college basketball rivalries, then Memphis, you could probably fit in. Certainly in a top 100 list, they definitely would. But you could have some Memphis pretty high, like Memphis, Louisville, possibly high on that list. Nothing approaches Duke, North Carolina. It just, and again, it goes to generally every time they play, there's something big on the line because one of them is going to be a top team, if not both of them being a top team. So it's absolutely massive every single time, and just the atmosphere. It's one of those. It's a bucket list thing that I want to do. I want to go to a Duke, North Carolina game. I'd love to go to Cameron Indoor anyway, but I want to do it for a Duke, North Carolina game. That would be absolutely awesome. And then number one I have is Ohio State, Michigan. I know people down here, these SEC rivals are huge deals, all of that stuff. I just don't think there's any rivalry that means more than Ohio State, Michigan. And it goes back to that conversation you brought up. I do think there are still some Ohio State fans that they just can't be completely satisfied with a national championship because they lost to Michigan. It just means way too much. That thing, again, would love to go to see that game one time in either stadium because they're both unbelievable stadiums. But Ohio State, Michigan to me is just the number one rivalry there is in sports. All right, now a different thing. Your 5 favorite rivalries, because again, these could have any sort of a reason you like them because it might be a team of yours or whatever, but what's your 5 favorite rivalries?
Yeah, so for some of these, I tried to mix in some player rivalries, especially with professional sports. I think that's it's something that I gravitate more towards whenever it comes to professional sports, especially in the current landscape. So the LeBron James versus Stephen Curry rivalry throughout the mid-2010s was what I grew up on. It was so consistent every year, and even though I had a time where I hated LeBron, I hated the Cavs. I had a time where I hated Steph Curry, I hated the Warriors. You're a fan. You grow up, and these guys are constantly beating your teams. But whenever you see those two guys consistently face off in the finals, and the quality of basketball is just so incredible that after a certain point, you just have to sit back and admire, like, wow, this is like as good as it gets. Talking about a player versus player rivalry. My second one, so I grew up in Mississippi, so the Egg Bowl was everything. Mississippi State versus Ole Miss. I grew up on the Mississippi State side of things. I have family members who grew up on the Ole Miss side of things, so the house divided aspect was always great. Thanksgiving was always, it was always a tricky time because whoever's team lost is going to, pitch a fit, and it's going to be a rough day. My third one, another player rivalry here. These two guys, whenever they face off, it's just must-see TV every single time. Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen. They just constantly deliver, whether it be regular season, whether it be playoffs. They just every single time these two guys match up against each other, it feels like you get a classic NFL game. And I had to throw that one on here. I tried to get one for the Grizzlies, too. It's hard, though, because the Grizzlies, you can't say that they have one set rival throughout all of time. I know the Clippers rivalry throughout the early 2010s was pretty prominent, and it goes back to a conversation we had earlier. Even though the Golden State Warriors may not really seriously consider the Grizzlies as a rival, I think we've seen over the past few years the tensions that have risen throughout the regular season, throughout the couple of the playoff series. I had to throw in the Grizzlies versus Warriors because here it means a lot to Grizzlies fans whenever they play the Warriors. Like, we want to beat the Warriors. That's the team that we really want to beat more than anybody, it seems. And my last one I mentioned earlier, Memphis versus Tennessee, just strictly based off the proximity aspect and interpersonal relationships and friendships that I have.
All right, very good list. Very good. It's funny too that you brought up that Grizzlies thing because I did the same thing. Like, I was like, do the Grizzlies, is there a rivalry? And because in the NBA, I mean, obviously the Lakers Celtics is a rivalry, but again, that was built just because they met for titles constantly. And then you had the Bird Magic thing as well, which became a great rivalry. But like in the NBA, rivalries become like, who have you, if you play a team in the playoffs like a couple times over a short stretch, it's like, oh, they're the rival.
Like the Pacers and the Bucks.
Yeah, so it's like the Grizzlies were like, oh, the Clippers are the rival. Oh no, the Thunder are the rival. No, it's the Warriors are the rival. But I do think if there is a rivalry, honestly, with the Grizzlies that I would term a rivalry, I think it is the Warriors. And I have them number 5 on my list because I mean, there's a different feeling to me when the Grizzlies play the Warriors than anybody else.
No doubt.
Even when the Lakers and LeBron come to town or whatever, and people, I think it's great. You got the Lakers fans there and you get the back and forth. There just is a different feeling when it's Grizzlies Warriors. So I do consider the Warriors, if there is a rival for the Grizzlies. And it was even, wasn't it Klay Thompson who said like that? Did he call it a rivalry? Or did he say it wasn't a rivalry? I can't remember. One of them.
I think he tried to say it wasn't.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but the fact that the Warriors constantly talked about the Grizzlies, like it shows that the Grizzlies are on their mind, and if that's on your mind, then therefore to me that makes it a rivalry. So I have Grizzlies Warriors at number 5. Number 4, I have North Carolina Duke. Again, I just love those games. There's just something about them. I don't know. And growing up, it felt like everybody growing up in my era, was like a North Carolina fan because they had so many good players, and you hated Duke because of the guys that came through there. And we've gone through the list many times of the hated white Duke players. And like you just Michael Jordan, especially when like growing up in the Chicago area. Michael Jordan, like that automatically kind of gave you ties to North Carolina, which made you hate Duke. And like, just the North Carolina Duke rivalry has always just been a little extra for me. I've always loved it. Number 3 is Notre Dame, Miami. And again, goes to where I grew up. The Catholics versus convicts thing was unbelievable. When you grow up in the Midwest, went to a Catholic high school whose nickname was the Fighting Irish. Like there was plenty of ties to Notre Dame, but like those days when they were good and Miami was good, the Catholics, I mean, it was just that. I loved that stuff. Absolutely loved it. I was looking it up. That was number 56 on the athletics list. They haven't met a ton. They've only met 27 times, and it goes back to 1955. But there was that period there in the 80s and that was as good as it got as far as college football goes. Number 2, it's Cowboys, and I say Redskins, although I know obviously that is now Cowboys Commanders, but Cowboys Redskins, because the whole Cowboys Indians thing just gave it special meaning. But I mean, growing up as a Cowboys fan, I mean, there's just no team you could hate more at that point than the Redskins. It just absolutely, you hated the Redskins. And it just every single year, that was, the Eagles, the Giants, obviously in the NFL, like all these divisional games become rivals. Nothing for the Cowboys compared to the Redskins in those days. It was just absolutely great. And again, it's funny because now that it's Cowboys Commanders, it doesn't feel the same to me. Just changing their nickname just doesn't feel the same as it used to for me. It's still huge, but it just doesn't have the same feeling as Cowboys Redskins did. And then number 1, without question, is Cubs Cardinals. Again, growing up as a Cubs fan, you just learn to hate the Cardinals. You've got the proximity there. You get plenty of fans of the other team at either ballpark anytime they're playing. I've been to many Cubs Cardinals games, both in Wrigley and in St. Louis. Having lived in the St. Louis area for a few years and dealing with Cardinal fans on a daily basis, I absolutely love Cubs Cardinals without question. That is my favorite rivalry there. And it's not like, it doesn't have the hatred level that Red Sox Yankees has. I don't know. It seems, I don't know, maybe it's a Midwest thing versus a Northeast thing, but like it's a nicer rivalry. We don't like each other, but it feels like a much nicer rivalry than like Yankees Red Sox. Somebody texted in about Giants Dodgers. And there's beatings and stabbings after games. Yes, like those two teams, those fan bases, like they despise each other. Again, a much more violent, I guess, hatred than what Cubs Cardinals is. And I don't know why that is, but for me, like when I've been at Cubs Cardinal games, like any game you go to, you might see two drunken idiots get into a fight or whatever. That doesn't necessarily have to be a rival. But like Cubs Cardinals games, like it's a good natured back and forth seemingly between Cubs and Cardinal fans generally when you're at those games. Whereas I feel like Yankees Red Sox, I've never been to a Yankees Red Sox game. I feel like that's going to be like a nasty like back and forth that you get during those games. And maybe like with Cubs Cardinals for years and years and years, those like they're fun games, but like the Cubs weren't competitive, so it didn't matter. Like I was just like, okay, the Cubs, they might. Your only hope was to beat the Cardinals because like we're not going anywhere. We don't go to the postseason. That's not what we do. So hopefully we can beat the Cardinals and at least spoil things for them. That's basically all it was can we spoil things for the Cardinals because the Cardinals constantly went to the postseason. The Cubs never did. Now it's gotten a little different. Now the Cubs actually go to the postseason, those type of things. So it makes it even a bigger deal now because there's teams usually most years there's more on the line now than what there used to be. Another texter says Lakers Celtics in the 80s. Yeah, again, I mean, you had the Lakers Celtics as one of your best. The 1980s, Bird versus Magic, they made a video game, Bird versus Magic. Like that was, you talk about the individual rivalry. I mean, that was as big as it got. Obviously playing in the national championship game in college, going right into the NBA, both going to teams that were unbelievable in that stretch in the 80s, played each other constantly. The two most storied teams in NBA history by far, as far as number of championships and everything else, the great players, everything else that have come through. Yeah, Lakers Celtics certainly is a great one. Another texter, number 5, Brewers versus Cubs. Again, very much a proximity thing there. And because those two have been battling in that NL Central and both have been good in recent years, that the Cubs fans take over the stadium a lot of times when they go up till Milwaukee. Yankees versus Red Sox, number 4. Duke versus North Carolina, number 3. Michigan, Ohio State, number 2. Packers, Bears at number 1. Packers, Bears, unbelievable rivalry. Obviously, this person is either a Chicago or Wisconsin person. You got Brewers, Cubs, and Packers, Bears. What would you say, Elijah, is the best or your favorite NFL rivalry?
Yeah, I think I'd probably have to go with Steelers-Ravens. I think that's a good one. My dad is a Steelers fan, so I was, grown up taught that the Ravens were, you don't like the Ravens. Like you can like any other team, but you cannot like the Baltimore Ravens. So, and you have the AFC North aspect to it. Games are always grimy feeling. It's really, really physical. That's the one that I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the thing in the NFL. Like, it seems like if you're in the division, you are a rival. Well, you're going to play twice every year. Like, it's obviously plenty on the line, all that stuff. Like, everybody in your division is rival. I'm trying to think, it's like in the NFL, is there what you would consider a rivalry that's not within the division? I mean, for a while there, again, it goes back to the whole thing, like, is it a rivalry or did they just play because they were both good? Like, we had when Brady and Manning were going, you had Patriots and Colts, but that was more of a Brady-Manning thing. Like, I think you get, like you said, with Mahomes and Allen, you kind of get that rivalry between quarterback battles, but I don't like true rivalries between teams that aren't in the same division. I'm not, like, Raider Corey brought up Cowboys 49ers. For a while, that certainly was the case because, again, they were really good and battling from the 80s and 90s. One was the team of the 80s. One was the team of the 90s. They met a lot in important games. Do I really consider the 49ers a rival of the Cowboys? I don't know.
Think about two teams that play in the same city, like the Giants and the Jets even. That doesn't feel like a rivalry to me.
No, yeah. I don't. I mean, there's probably, again, some would consider, like, some of those rivalries. Again, it goes to what you actually consider a rivalry. But interesting conversation. Yeah, somebody else texts in Cowboys 49ers. Again, certainly for a period of time, for about a 20-year stretch, they certainly were. Are they right now? Like, when I think of rivals for the Cowboys, I think of the 3 division opponents before I think of the 49ers. But again, it's kind of how you want to look at that as far as that is concerned. All right, when we come back, we shift gears. We talk Tigers basketball. Partly Podjai will join us. A lot of Tiger news to get to, and we'll do that when we return here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roof Services. Do you know what Penny Hardaway and I have in common? We should both be in that building celebrating the best basketball players of all time. Of course, I'll have to buy a ticket to get in, but he should already be there. But seriously, we both surround ourselves with the best people we can find. We work hard to achieve our goals, and we are both among the best in our respective fields. At Fiveash, we can't win titles or get national awards, but what we can and do strive to do is give 100% of ourselves to give you the best product possible and one you can be proud of. So if you need a roof, siding, or gutters, give us a call at 901-367-0050, and we will do everything we can to provide you the best of everything. Fiveash Roofing. Fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
To NST, it's never just another case. It's your shot at getting life back on track. Real help, real heart. 35 years and still winning. NST is the way to go. Call 683-7000 or go online at nstlaw.com.
Newsflash, Family Leisure needs your help. Family Leisure has a warehouse full of inventory, and they need it cleaned out. Do your part to make room for new items, and you get great deals on almost everything. Listen up. All in-stock patio furniture, it's up to 80% off. You can get a 4-piece deep seating set for under $1,000. Chaise lounges. You buy one, and you're going to need another, and that other one will be 1/2 off. All Pollywood furniture. It's now 20 to 30% off. You buy any dining table, you're going to get an umbrella absolutely free, and they're not cheap. Now, is financing available? You better believe it. Special financing is a go. To sum it all up, Family Leisure has got to clear out its warehouse inventory, which means you're going to rack up the savings. Help Family Leisure clear out the warehouse. Family Leisure, Whitten Road at I-40, where family and fun come together to clean out the warehouse.
This traffic brought to you by Raleigh Tire Auto Service, your local family-owned business for over 60 years.
Sports 56 traffic.
34 traffic continues out of Fayette County into Shelby County right now on 40 coming westbound, starting to pick up a little bit more southbound. Austin P trying to get up on that ramp to I-40. Looks good right now. I-40 over here at Watkins near the 101 connector. Dandelions, Crabgrass, Lawn Solutions here in Memphis says give them a call. That telephone number, area code 901-867-5626. That's Lawn Solutions. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. Here once again are Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back. 9:28 the time here in the Family Leisure Studios. Eli and Elijah with you. And time now to talk some Tigers basketball.
It's time to talk Memphis Tigers basketball. Joining Greg and Eli is Parth Upadhyay, the Tigers beat reporter for the Daily Memphian. Now here's Parth with Greg and Eli.
He joins us each and every Wednesday to talk some Tigers, and we got some Tiger news to get to with him today. Parth Upanjai joins us here on the program. What's up, Parth?
How's it going?
Doing good, man. There's always, it seems like it never slows down. There's always Tiger news to get to, no matter what time of year. And yesterday, there's a new, as of yesterday, a new addition to Penny Hardaway's staff with the Director of Player Development. First of all, is it Daryl or Darrell Brown?
It's Daryl Brown Jr.
Okay, Daryl Brown Jr. And I know you wrote about Brown, an article about what he brings to the program, but tell us a little bit about Brown and this edition.
Yeah, he's another local guy, and it seems like there's been a concerted effort, right, this offseason to kind of tie the program's roots back to the 901, back to the city. You know, you see that with the roster, with Curtis Gibbons III added, Julius Thedford added, both those guys, you know, obviously Memphis kids who played high school ball here at one point. And then you had Andre Turner last offseason. Jermaine Johnson is, part of that coaching staff, also another Memphis native. So this is another person who kind of knows the heartbeat of the city. He played at Germantown, graduated in 2016, and is the program's leading scorer. He broke that scoring record that Ian Clark held. Obviously, NBA champion Ian Clark won a ring with the Golden State Warriors. He set the Germantown scoring record back in 2009. Daryl Brown Jr. comes in and breaks it, goes on to play at Bradley, sets all kinds of records at Bradley. He's top 5 in points, assists, three-pointers made at that school, helped revive that program, got them back to the NCAA tournament, and nearly upset Michigan State, right, in that 2019 first round of the Big Dance. Played overseas, came back home, and then kind of launched his coaching career by going back to his alma mater as a director of player development. He obviously caught Penny's eye because, he's Penny's godson. So they had a relationship that goes way back. But with what he was doing at Bradley, definitely Penny noticed. And this offseason, there was an opportunity to bring him back home, and Penny did so.
It's, again, obviously a terrific player when you look at the credentials he had as a player and now getting started as a coach. So coming in as a guy in player development certainly looks like a solid hire. And again, having guys who know the local scene, know what Memphis basketball means here locally, certainly I think is a good thing. Where does this put Penny as far as staff is concerned?
Yeah, I think this rounds it out. They have not formally announced a replacement for Jordan Verhulst, obviously director of basketball operations. So I'm not sure if that's going to come internally or externally. But I think this about kind of rounds out the staff in terms of at least numbers. If that makes sense.
Is Jermaine Johnson? What is Jermaine Johnson? Is he an assistant coach this year?
Yeah, he's expected to be elevated to assistant. Obviously, last year he was in a different role, but he's been an assistant before. So yes, he is expected to return to that kind of role.
And with Andre Turner, who did have the director of player development title, he's not going to have that title, but he's still going to have the director of alumni and community relations title.
Exactly. So the idea is to bring in Daryl Brown to, take over that part of Andre's former role, with Andre still being that kind of former player liaison, if you will, right, with alumni of the program.
You were at the Tigers on Tour event last night at Brookhaven Pub, and I guess you can clear this up a little bit more, because I read 2 different quotes from Penny, and they seem to contradict each other. I saw one that said the roster is done at this point, but then I also saw another one that said we've got to get big, so we're still looking for someone.
Yeah, so that was funny. So Penny spoke to us after the event outside of Brookhaven in the parking lot there, and a reporter asked him, so is the roster complete? With the latest edition of I'm going to butcher the guy's name, Simon. I think it's
Majak.
Yeah. Majak. I'm really not sure how to pronounce it. I got to learn that one. But anyway, with the recent addition of the Sudanese, South Sudanese center, somebody asked him, like, so is that it? You've got 13 guys on the roster. Are you done now? And the way the question was phrased was, is the roster complete at this point? So Penny responded and said, at this point, we are done, or at this point, the roster's complete. Another reporter chimes in and says, okay, so no more additions? Is that what that means? And he said, no. He said at this point. The question was at this point. And then he went on to say, we still need a big, so we're looking for somebody. So it's kind of a funny back and forth there, but
well, I guess
Penny always, yeah.
That make a little bit more sense. I mean, we're nitpicking here on exactly what the phrasing of that, but because we go back and he originally said when it was at 12, they were probably only going to add one more anyway, right?
That is what he said. Was it back 2-3 weeks ago? Yes.
At one of these other stops, they said we would probably add one. Maybe the first one of those Tigers on Tour stops, we're going to add one, which they've added the one. But I mean, is there anything that would be out there right now that they could still add as far as a big is concerned that could be of any consequence?
That's the thing. I really don't think so. You just look at kind of what remains in the portal, and with the dust now having settled, there's really not any needle movers out there. So I think Penny, if I'm just this is just me interpreting his words, he's saying like, there could be an addition mid-season, right? Like we've seen that happen for the past two seasons with Naquan Tomlin back in 2023, and then obviously Dante Harris around last Christmas. So, you can never say never with Penny is basically, I think, what he was implying.
Yeah, that's the thing too. And when I saw those two different quotes, I thought to myself, I'm like, it kind of feels like he's saying, we're done, but don't hold me to that. Like, if I do go get somebody else, don't think like, hey, don't like say, hey, you said you were done. Like, it's just kind of like, we are kind of done, exactly. But just in case something comes up, I want to give the idea that, hey, we could still do something.
Exactly. And there are two roster spots remaining, with the House settlement increasing the limit to 15, they're at 13, but they're not maxed out yet, obviously.
The other news this week was the addition of Baylor to the non-conference schedule, which I think is great to get them on the
huge
home portion of the schedule, a 4-game series starting this year. So what are they now stand with? What, 2 spots still open on the non-conference?
No, just one spot that's yet to be announced. Yep.
Is there any talk about are they still looking for another big opponent, or is this now probably going to be a lesser opponent?
No, it's almost certainly going to be another bye game. They've got obviously Vanderbilt and Baylor as your 2 marquee, power conference, big opponent home games. And then I think, obviously, you've got UNLV and San Francisco. Mm-hmm. But if I'm not mistaken, the only other true kind of, and no disrespect to those programs, but give me games at home at least are New Orleans and Southern Illinois, right? So they probably need one more game for kind of cushioning purposes, but I think that's what you're going to see. You're going to see some kind of game against a lesser opponent, so to speak, like a tune-up game.
I looked yesterday at the current bracketology for whatever that's worth at this time of year.
Sure.
With the addition of Baylor on that schedule, they have, and this is Lenardi's, he has Purdue as a 1, Louisville as a 7, Vandy as an 8, Mississippi State as an 8, Baylor as a 9, and Ole Miss as a 10. So in his current thing right now, that is 6 tournament teams on their schedule.
And it could be 7.
And then Arkansas in an exhibition game possibly would be number 5. Or it is a number 5 in his. So that is a really brutal non-conference schedule.
No doubt. It is brutal. And I guess what I was implying is it could be, you mentioned Arkansas would be number 7, right? In terms of just tournament caliber teams. Yeah, so it could be 8 depending on if they end up drawing Texas Tech, right? In the Bahamas.
Yeah,
Texas Tech. No doubt.
Yeah, he has them as a 6 seed, Texas Tech. So that's one's up in the air as well. So yeah, I mean, you're talking about theoretically, you could play them as well. Like it is, and he has Memphis as an 11 in his current bracketology. Like that's the thing, though. With most of these teams, like again, 9, 10, 8 seeds, like these are a lot of bubble type teams that are huge games that could dictate a lot with Memphis's seeding if they end up, winning the conference and they're in. These are huge for seeding purposes.
No doubt. And it's crazy because, like 2-3 weeks ago, there was a lot of kind of angst and worry from the fan base and even from media members, right, about like what the schedule would look like. Would it be comparable to last year? And there's no telling, right, if it's going to be the fourth toughest schedule in the country, which is what it was last year, at least in the non-conference slate, according to Ken Palm. A lot of stuff's got to pan out for that to happen. These teams have to deliver. These teams have to kind of maintain their level of play throughout the season. We saw it 2 years ago where people were really excited about, drawing Arkansas, right, like in the Bahamas, in the Battle for Atlantis, and having Michigan in that same tournament. But those teams kind of faltered, and it didn't really look as glamorous of a non-conference schedule as it did on paper by the time the dust had settled. So a lot of stuff's got to go right, but at least now you're looking at, like you said, potentially through your 13 non-conference, regular season games plus the 2 preseason games, right, that they'll play most likely. It gives you an opportunity to play 8 of the 15 opponents you'll play from, mid-October preseason through January 1st, when you get to that AAC, American Athletic Conference portion of your schedule, to have played that many teams that are going to, likely be or have a chance to be in March Madness, that's huge. It's a huge test because you're not going to get any of those tests, once that calendar flips 2026. So I think Penny is, doing what he's always done and what he said he wants to continue to do, which is to test his team from the get-go. I guess the thing now is, and this happened last year too, where you've got a brand new roster. Yeah. And like Penny said yesterday to us, he reiterated the fact that these schedules, like the discussions for the schedules and stuff, like a lot of the stuff's done, before he even knows who he's going to have on his roster. So that's tough, man, to take a roster with this many unknowns, to play a potentially number one team in the country in Purdue, right, in the Bahamas, to play a Louisville team that's going to be probably top 20, at the KFC Yum Center in December. To go to regional rivals that are on the rise, in Ole Miss, Mississippi State, it's tough, and it's going to be interesting to see how kind of things shake out.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, when you're talking about that type of competition, as you said, with literally an entirely new roster that you're trying to do this with, certainly makes it extremely difficult. Speaking of scheduling, I know Penny was asked last night at the event about scheduling, and then somebody in the crowd brought up Tennessee?
Yes, I think Jeff Brightwell, the host yesterday, the host of the Penny Hardaway radio show and the host of these Tigers on Tour events, he had asked Penny, hey, how difficult is it to get these kind of opponents like the Baylors and the Louisvilles and Vanderbilts, especially with the Baylor and Louisville being locked in for more than just 2 years, right? Like the Baylor series was 4 years, Louisville's 6 years. Like, that's awesome, for that to get done. And Jeff was kind of asking him, like, how difficult is it to be a Memphis and try to get these opponents, especially to come to FedEx Forum. And Penny's answer was, it is difficult, and we do want to play other teams. He didn't say what teams, but we said there's other teams we want to play that are out there. But something like, they got to want to play us or something like that, right? And somebody in the crowd shouts out, UT! And Penny leaned into it. He said, yeah, exactly. And then he continued with his answer. So it was kind of a funny back and forth there.
Yeah, that's if only I know there's a lot of people that every time we talk Tigers scheduling, I think somebody brings up Tennessee, and it's like, well, it just is what it is right now. They're not going to play. Rick Barnes has no desire whatsoever to play Memphis and Penny Hardaway. But again, when you look at that schedule, and as you said, getting those deals done with the Louisville and Baylor that are the longer term deals. Because I love the Baylor. I think Baylor that is a great from team. I love the local stuff. I like the Mississippi State. I love Ole Miss. I think Vanderbilt, especially Vanderbilt's program now, getting back on its way up and looking like a tournament team again compared to what it was a few years ago when they played them. But getting outside of the region, I think getting Baylor is a great get.
Yeah, no doubt. Because with Baylor, as long as Scott Drew's there, they're going to be, good, if not great, right? Like they've been great when they won the national title and stuff, but there's always like a floor there. You're not going to have a team that's going to make the NCAA tournament, most likely, year in, year out, which is huge.
Yeah, I mean, and it's generally going to be, I would think, like fun basketball to watch. Like they've got athletes, like it'll be up and down, like it's athletes all over the floor getting up and down the court. It's a good fun style of basketball to watch two teams play. No, for sure, two fun brands, no doubt about it. Obviously they just put VJ Edgecombe in the draft, the number 3 overall pick. Like he's year in and year out is producing high draft picks and getting these. It's also funny because I brought this up yesterday. Like, so this year, what is the deal, by the way, with the Arkansas game? Yeah, it is expected to be played, but it is still not official. I'll put it that way. So if that is done, you'll have John Calipari at FedEx Forum. You'll have the guy who replaced John Calipari, Josh Pastner, at FedEx Forum. And you'll have the guy who almost replaced John Calipari, which was Scott Drew, who they looked at that time, who also play at FedEx Forum or coach at FedEx Forum this year. So that is nuts. They'll have the whole triumvirate of folks that were possibilities or did coach or were possibilities to coach here coming in this year. But yeah, Scott Drew, that program has turned into a really good one. And that's the thing, with all of these programs that you're looking at, like Louisville a couple years ago would have been a completely different situation. Vanderbilt a couple years ago, completely different situation. Baylor obviously has been consistent. Purdue has been consistent. Only this year is like, I mean, again, there's a good chance that could be against that might be a number 1 ranked team in Purdue that you play them. Yeah. So it's going to be certainly a fun non-conference portion of the schedule. As you said, the unfortunate part is then conference play starts and it drops off mightily from that point on. But it is what it is. Well, you've got that February 14th matchup against Utah State on the road to look forward to, right? Yeah. If you're a Tigers fan. But yes, not much else in AAC play. You have any idea how good is Utah State supposed to be this year? I know they were good this past year, but like I haven't, like they're not in that bracketology. I don't know what they. No, they're not. They're not. They are a team though. If you look at kind of their recent track record, like they've been pretty decent year in, year out. I mentioned it when I wrote the story when that deal was done between Memphis and Utah State, but they've made the tournament. I want to say something like 3 out of the past 5 years or something, like that. I'm not sure how good they're supposed to be this year, but I think even with Utah State, like you can expect a team that's not going to be like there's a decent floor there. Yeah, exactly. You're not going to play. You're not going to play a horrible basketball team. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I would assume, generally, if you look at their track record, it's probably a team that's going to be on the bubble or at least near the bubble. Yep. Better than most of the conference teams you'll be playing at that time of year. Yeah, and you're going there, too, which is kind of an underrated college basketball environment, I think. From what I've seen on television and stuff, like, it's pretty rowdy, over there. In their buildings. I think that would be a good test too for to go from once again, no shade to these programs, but from going from Rice and UTSA to that raucous environment over there in Logan, Utah. Yeah. I think it will be a good shot in the arm for Memphis as it heads into March Madness just a few weeks after. He is Parthlu Padjai. He covers the Tigers for the Daily Memphian. Again, he's got an article up right now about the new director of player development, Darryl Brown Jr. He's also got about that scheduling situation and stuff from last night with the Tigers on tour stop that you can check out at dailymemphian.com. He joins us each and every Wednesday here on Sports 56 Mornings. Parth, thank you so much, man. We appreciate it. Hey, thanks a lot. All right, Parthlu Padjai joining us here on the program. We'll take a break, come back and wrap things up for this busy Wednesday. Right after this, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark's Bensdorf Realtors. I'm often called Shell Done because I sell homes and work with buyers and I get the job done. There are 7 keys to successfully selling your home quickly at a great price. First, call me. I do my research and advise you on preparation, presentation, and proper pricing that gets you the activity to get the best price. Follow my advice and it can happen. I did mention 7 keys to a successful sale, didn't I? Well, if you use the first key, calling or emailing me, you really don't need the next 6 keys. Remember, that's Sheldon Rosengarten at 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com. If you don't need me now, write it down for later or for a friend. That's Sheldon at 483-0546 at MemphisRelocate.com. Do it now, and who knows, you may hear your home advertised here. Remember, as bad a golfer as I am, when selling homes, Sheldon gets it done.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop. A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
It's time for SEC Media Days. Join Brett Wordsworthy as he broadcasts live from the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, Monday through Thursday, previewing the upcoming SEC football season and bringing you interviews with players, coaches, and SEC leaders. Tune in to Sports Time with Stats and Brian Dacus from 3 to 6, and also hear from Stats throughout the day for SEC Media Days coverage. Brought to you by First National Bank and Trust, Jason's Deli, Gould Salon and Spa, Jim's Place Grill, and East Memphis Ace Hardware.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. Here once again are Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back here in the Family Leisure Studios. Tomorrow on the program, of course, on Thursdays, Kerry Miller joins us to talk Major League Baseball. Last night in Major League Baseball. First of all, Jacob Mizorowski, who we have talked about, the Milwaukee Brewer stud young right-hander. Last night, Shohei Ohtani homered off of him to begin the game. Leadoff home run to start the game. Ohtani's 31st home run. But then Mizorowski, after giving up the leadoff home run, all he did is go 6 innings, 12 strikeouts. I think his over-under for strikeouts in the game was 5.5 from what I saw, and I believe he struck out 6 in the first 2 innings. That dude is crazy. He outpitched Clayton Kershaw to get the win. He's now 4-1 on the season, is Mizorowski. And, man, it's just, again, he throws like 102 consistently, and it's something, man. He's got 33 strikeouts in 25 2/3 innings. So far, 281 earned run average with that 4-1 mark that he has on the year. Also last night, crazy, about as crazy an ending as you can get to a game, with a walk-off 3-run inside the park home run for the Giants last night. Patrick Bailey had the walk-off 3-run inside the park home run in San Francisco against Philadelphia. And there's a drone shot of it, which is absolutely cool just to see the whole thing, the crowd going crazy, all that stuff. But it was just nuts. The last time there was a walk-off inside the park home run in the major leagues was 2016. And the last time it happened for a team trailing by at least 2 runs was the same 2 teams, the Phillies and Giants, only it was Bob Dernier of the Phillies with the 3-run walk-off inside the park home run against the Giants. That came back in 1989. But just some weird stuff going on in the world of Major League Baseball with a walk-off 3-run home run inside the park style. And it was a catcher as well. So not only is you get the inside the park home run, the walk-off, it's a catcher, Patrick Bailey, a catcher, getting that inside the park home run, which you don't see that very often either. Fleet Feet, that's the place to go to get all your running gear. Folks, you want to make sure you get shoes that are just right for you? Go see the folks at Fleet Feet. They'll do that for you. Taking a look at the way you run, the way you walk, where you put the pressure, the different parts of your feet. They will fit you with shoes that are just right for you. Making sure you have the right size, the right fit, everything you can imagine. Helps you avoid injuries or any problems. If you're walking, running, just everyday use, especially if you're on your feet a lot, you want to make sure you have those shoes that are perfect for you. Go see the folks at Fleet Feet, and they'll do that for you. Plus, any other stuff that you need, any other gear that you need, they've got you taken care of. Heck, if it's advice or whatever about training for races or just getting started exercising, they're all runners. They know what they're talking about. They will help you at Fleet Feet. You could go see them in East Memphis in the Laurelwood Shopping Center, or you could go out in Collierville, Poplar and Houston Levy, next door to the Hueys. Either one of those 2 locations. You can also find them online, fleetfeetmemphis.com, or on social media, where they keep you up to date with what they've got going on, things going on in the running community. They sponsor a lot of races. They do their group runs. They do other things, all things that you can get involved with the folks at Fleet Feet. I want to say a big thanks to Chip Williams joining us on the program today, talking a lot about the Grizzlies draftees and some of the other guys in Summer League. Partly Podjai, as always, joining us on Wednesday as well. Of course, you can always check out any part of the show that you missed. We break it down hourly in our podcast section. Subscribe to the podcast, and you'll get it delivered to you each and every day on an hourly basis with any of our shows here on Sports 56. All you got to do to get those podcasts, sign up and subscribe to them, or just go to sports56whbq.com. As I mentioned, tomorrow, Kerry Miller will join us, working on some other guests tomorrow as well. We'll be back 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, bright and early, with another edition of Sports 56 Mornings. Coming up next, it is Wolo and Friends here on Sports 56. For Elijah, I'm Eli. So long. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, everybody.